What's going on, everybody? How are y'all doing? So yes, we are back for part 2 because last night, if you were here, you would have seen that part 1 got interrupted, got sidetracked, got derailed as it were. And so yeah, I am back with part 2, and we are going to have GameLogIQ back on. He should be here shortly, I think. So yeah, that's basically what we're doing. We only got through one topic last night, and that was kind of frustrating. So what's up, RPG88, Nelson Gaming, Hero Down Under? How are y'all doing? I know this is not the normal night. Fun fact, this is probably gonna become the normal night moving forward. Probably here in a few weeks, I'll fully transition over. I have the next 3 weeks of the show booked. And then that 4th week is going to go back to just being me again. So, yeah, I am, I'm interested to see what the change in nights does, but I plan on starting to help out with my kids' youth group at church. And so that's going to take up my Wednesday nights, which that's going to be a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun in youth group when I was a kid, and so I'm excited to be able to help them. But anyways, tonight, last night we covered the remakes and remaster stuff. That's about as far as we got. And tonight we're going to be covering PlayStation's physical disc, the new Fallout game, and then some stuff with Microsoft, the layoffs, kind of what it means going forward. You know, there's so much crap that's gone on. There's so much stuff that's happened, and there's a lot of things that seem to be in flux right now and things that seem to be moving. We have some gamers who I've talked to who are very much like, man, I buy video games because it's what I do, but like at some level, if they buy digital, they feel like they're betraying like some cause or movement. If they buy physical new on PlayStation, then they're giving money to Sony. And so like there's a little bit of guilt floating around there in the gaming sector, which is dumb as hell. But it's there regardless. It's also not even guilt from necessarily gamers, like other gamers. It's just like this internal guilt, like, man, I don't like this decision, but if I keep gaming on PlayStation, I keep sending them the message that I'm going to keep doing what I've been doing. If I keep buying games digitally or physically new, I'm just feeding back into it. So there's a little bit of stuff that we can tease there that has absolutely nothing to do with rage bait or, screaming or anything like that. No guilt here. Hey, man, listen. I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do yet. I do know that I haven't purchased a game right now, and that's because July wasn't gonna be a month that I purchased a game anyways. Like, I have a backlog. I had said that in June before they even announced this. Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced is getting me stupid close, for no other reason than that I just want to play it. Like, there's not some like, oh, I hope Ubisoft is doing better, or oh, it's my favorite story. It's actually the one I don't like. But man, just to see what they did with it, just to be able to play it. I wish I could get a 5-hour demo of it. Just something to wet my whistle, just to taste it and be like, okay, I like it or I don't. And so yeah, anyways, physical or digital, still enjoy the game regardless. That's the minimum win, but even Falky thinks it is a lost battle. What do you mean? I hope they can. Oh, I got you. Black Flag is good. That's an opinion. That is an opinion. And it's one that a lot of people have. I might be different. I probably am different. but that is one that a lot of people have, is that Black Flag is the best one. It's all that. Personally, the Ezio trilogy are the best ones. So yeah, you're enjoying it. Lost Battle, to commit to, yeah, I'm with you now, Hero. I remember having this digital physical conversation, and I think Will and I had it at one point a while back. Might have been Nate and I. It was one of the guests that come on here. He and I had this discussion, and we made mention that we were like, we never thought Nintendo would get away from physical, and we thought that Sony would at least continue physical through the PlayStation 6. And then maybe if something better came along, more memory, expansion of like a Blu-ray 2.0 type of deal. But we had never thought that they would end up in an all digital medium. And so that's a very interesting, and I know people are going to say, well, follow the numbers. Okay, cool. But like, it feels almost like a hard pivot. It's not, and I clearly understand that, but it does feel like a hard pivot. So that's one of the things that we're also going to talk about a little bit tonight. Was I feel like we're still in the moment where you got hit unexpectedly in the gut and you got the wind knocked out of you. I feel like most gamers are still in that kind of moment with it. At least that's where I'm at. Maybe I'm projecting a lot onto the rest of like the gaming world, but maybe that's where I am on it, is in that position of like, man, it still feels a little bit like a gut punch. Don't quite know where that came from, but damn it, did it hurt. So yeah, tell you what, guys, if you could hit that like button and share this out, it's super helpful. Also, come back through when this is over and hit the hype button. I am currently trying to get this thing shared out. What did I do? Oh, Logic, you're here. Ooh. And I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm here twice. Oh, Lord. Hang on, I can hear myself really loudly. All right, let's see if that fixed it. What's up, Logic?
Not much, man. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine now, and I'm not echoing, so that's good. Man, so I would ask you how you are. I'd ask you what you're gaming on, but we just spoke last night about those two things. And unless something major has changed, we already know that. But just kind of going through the intro, just resetting up all the topics. We do know that we are getting a new Fallout game directed by the guy who did New Vegas. Fun fact, New Vegas is the only Fallout I actually enjoyed. I used to attribute it to Bethesda until folks were like, nah, dog, that was Obsidian. I was like, oh, oops. Because back in the day, I was like, man, the only Bethesda title, this is during the ABK stuff, I was like, the only Bethesda title I really enjoyed was New Vegas. And someone was like, that wasn't even Bethesda. That was Obsidian. And I was like, well, shit. So I'm kind of excited for this. I never thought I'd say I was excited for a Fallout game. But give me a New Vegas 2, and I'd probably end up being there day one. So we're going to talk about that a little bit tonight. And then there's a lot of stuff with the Xbox stuff. They've made a lot of moves. There's a lot of articles I could have pulled from. Needless to say, they hit absolute effing reset. And there is a silver lining, but it's like dipping a turd in a vat of melted silver. Sure, there's some good there, but at the end of the day, it's still just shit. So, we're going to discuss that a little bit, And that's it. There's no additional topics for the night. Now, Logic. Last night, there was a topic. There was a thing that we were supposed to do that we didn't get to. What's up, Josh? And I wanted to get to it tonight. So that it was a question that I was posing that said, what'd you say, Josh? Hang on. ADHD. Squirrel. Oh, dipping a turd in silver. Exactly. Those are the idioms that people come here for. I'm just saying. So if you could erase your memory of one game or two and play that game from start to finish over again, what game would it be? If you're talking, we cannot hear you.
No, sorry. I was trying to adjust my my laptop that I'm using to monitor the stream, and it got all dorked up. I don't have a super great answer for that. Just because I'm not as much of the story type gamer as you guys are.
That's fair.
I mean, so in some ways, I guess I would say Expedition 33, right? Because it's the most significant like story based game I've ever played. But I mean, I don't have anything else like shocking or revelatory to put around that answer. I think it's fairly obvious, right? To most people who have played the game, why I'd want to reset. But I mean, but even when I say that, it's like I don't really know if that's like a great answer or the answer that I want, because despite having finished it, there's still tons of unanswered questions, right, with that game. And so in that world, like I don't need to go back and like not play it, right, and have my memory wiped, right? I like even having completed it, I still have tons of questions that I am so looking forward to playing, right, whatever the follow-on game is. And Sandfall Interactive recently made the statement that like, we're working on the second game and we're making the game that we want to make. So
and is it going to connect though? I need to know if it's going to connect. Is this going to be Expedition blah 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 blah? I need to know if it connects to the story of this, because that would be epic.
Well, they have definitely said it is a sequel to Expedition 33.
Well, they said it was going to be like a shared universe type thing where every game was going to be in this like clair obscure thing.
Yeah, I don't know that you're getting a sequel to those character stories, right? But yes, but you're getting a story in that world. I'm hoping it is like the writers
versus the painters.
Yes, or the people that I am certain exist that haven't been revealed yet, which would be the sculptors. But whatever it is, like if it's set in that world, I mean, I'm there for it.
Revealed.
Were the sculptors talked about as a third faction?
No, well, not in open war. Sorry, never mind. We need to be quiet.
Okay.
The sculptures are in the game. But you're right. We never find out who makes them. So you are correct in that, because isn't like two of the things you go get your upgrades from are sculptures.
Well, not sculpture. So I'm saying that I believe there is a, like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, like the two factions that we've heard about are the painters and the writers, right?
Correct.
Okay, I'm saying I believe that there is a third faction in this world, right? Like, and there could be multiple factions all oriented around, right, and art is what I'm saying.
I'd love that. I'd play the shit out of that.
It makes it.
I would play the shit out of that. Like,
it kind of makes it like like an unlimited world, right? Because you could have, I mean, shit. You could have the metallurgists, right? A bunch of people who make art out of steel or whatever. Like, you could do all sorts of things. So yeah, I mean, yeah. So like I said, but I don't know that that's a great, for instance, I mean, it's a very strange thing, and I know I'm probably skewing and hijacking your topic.
Mm-hmm.
I think we mentioned a little bit last night. Like I have these criticisms of Forza Horizon 6 that I've had. I can't remember because I was on your show, and when you left, I went over to Brap's show, and like my memory of conversations are like blended in my mind. So at some point last night, I mentioned that like these nits that I have with Forza Horizon 6, and it's the fact, I think it was on Brap's show, and it's the fact that it's this regurgitation, right, of a template that we have been on since Forza Horizon 3, right, and it's not innovative, which is a lot of my feeling of like the questions that I'm starting to ask about like the traction of Xbox games, even if they're multi-platform, even if they show up on PlayStation 5. So interestingly enough, and one of my criticisms has been that the voice acting and the characters who are really just backdrop and place settings in Forza games, like they're not rich, right? They're not supposed to be like these big, we're not doing FMV sequences like we do in Grid Legends, right? So they shouldn't really be that big of a deal. But when they are so deadpan and phoned in, then you notice them, right? It's almost like because you did such a shitty job, right? It distracts me because I notice it. And that's what they are in Forza Horizon 6. There's very little that gives me any sense of traction of actually being in Japan. There's very little of Japanese racing culture. One of the things that I've said is like this is supposed to be a racing game set in Japan, and like all the when the voice acting comes on, everybody's British. Right, so it's like Scarlett Johansson and Ghost in the Shell, right? It's like you guys shouldn't have even advertised that this was like a racing game set in Japan. So, and while I say that, I feel like for various reasons the casting of Scarlett Johansson and Ghost in the Shell, it had a business and a financial purpose, and I get that. So it's very funny. Today I went and installed Forza Horizon 5 on my Steam Deck LCD, and for whatever reason, there's a whole soap opera behind this about how like my Xbox games on Steam were not allowing me to log into Xbox, and I was pissed off because I specifically bought them on Steam so I wouldn't have to deal with that freaking Xbox app and yada yada yada. So I've been going back and forth with this for months. Finally, suddenly, maybe a 3 months ago, earlier in the year, my Xbox games on Steam started allowing me to log back in. So I have installed, Halo Infinite and Flight Simulator and Forza Horizon games on some PCs, my Steam version. And so today I put that Steam version of Forza Horizon 5 on my Steam Deck LCD. And for some reason, even though I logged into my Xbox account, it actually started me over at the beginning of the game. And it's kind of funny because like as it was loading, I was like, it wouldn't be really cool to like go back to the beginning and opening of Forza Horizon 5. So I was surprised when it did that, because normally it syncs with your account and it just picks up right with it wherever you left off. So I'm playing this intro of Forza Horizon 5, and I've been saying like the intro to Forza Horizon, like it's the intro to Forza, like nothing in Forza Horizon 6 is as geographically relevant as Forza Horizon 5 was. Like Forza Horizon 5, I actually felt like I was in Mexico. Like there were tons of Latino references, the music, the backdrop, it gave me a true sense of participating in that culture and being around it. And there's none of that like spirit right in Forza Horizon 6. And so here I'm starting over in Forza Horizon 5, and the opening sequence in Forza Horizon 5, they drop you out of a C-130 and you go racing along the edge of a volcano. And like that's the kind of thing, like in comparison, Forza Horizon 6 is incredibly sterile and incredibly safe. And it has none of like what I felt was like the bug. And so I was kind of glad to experience that, because I had been saying it for about a month since Forza Horizon 6, but I hadn't actually like gone back to Forza Horizon 5 and seen the beginning of it. And I was like, I wonder if I have revisionist history like in my memory. So it was kind of cool that I saw that today. So to a certain extent, part of my answer to your question would have been there are games that are in my wheelhouse that I would like to go back. Like, I'm a big racing game fan that I would like to go back and experience over again. But like I said, I know most people who are in that story oriented thing, that's not the type of answer they would grok. So,
well, right. But if you're not a story driven gamer, then the answers you gave are the answers I would expect. And I think that people can if I was a shooter, if I was a shooter guy, I have a game in the shooter category that I'd love to go back and play over again for the first time. And that would be Call of Duty Black Ops 3. I'd love to go back and play Black Ops 3 again for the first time. I loved that game. It was awesome. that's not my wheelhouse. That's not my number one. But in that category, that's where I would go. For me, though, and Josh and I were talking about this, for me, it's either Final Fantasy X or Tales of Arise. Because they both tell an amazing story. They both have a really good, not very overt and in-your-face love stories that are like kind of woven through the rest of the game, which is kind of, I like that. I like the subtlety of it. And there's a ton of mystery involved with both of them. And there's really big plot twists towards the end of both of them. Like they play out, now that I'm actually thinking about it, they play out a lot of the same like pacing beats. Not the same story or even the same premises, but a lot of the same beats. Like, hey, we're going to start off with a bit of uncertainty about what's going on, not really knowing who you are, what you are. Cool. You're going to meet this female lead, and you're going to kind of be 1A, 1B as far as lead characters go. And then through that, the people who she has, the people who y'all interact with, not who she has, but the people who y'all interact with become y'all's party. Cool. And then you go, and then as the mystery unfolds and everything starts to come into focus from answering the original question of, hey, who am I and what's going on here? Then you start with the plot twist. And then after that, you end up finishing the game. And so they both kind of follow that same pattern, and I didn't even notice it until just now. But those two games are ones that those are always going to stick with me. I think a big reason why Tales of Arise will is because it was one of the, I think it was the first RPG or JRPG that I played on the PS5. And so, like, that's how I broke in my PS5, which was fucking awesome. That's also the very first review I ever did was over, Tales of Arise. And so that game holds a very special place for me. And it's one of the games I own physically, even though I bought the DLC. Shame on me. And yeah, so that's my answer for that. But we have in the chat BioShock, Titanfall, Spec Ops. We see Final Fantasy. Yeah. Kind of the usual great game, great suspects. All right. Logic, are you still with me? Or did I bore you to sleep?
No, I'm still here. And in the chat or you, so I went back and listened to my audio just then, and it sounded a wee bit loud. Maybe not a wee bit. So I tried cranking it down a little bit on the background window setting because my mixer is about bottomed out. So if you could let me know if I sound more in tune now, that'd be great.
Oh, I didn't even notice. You're not pegging out at all on my mixing screen right here. You sound too low now, in Josh's opinion. That's what he said.
Yeah, so then I'll bump it back up a little bit.
Ooh. Oh man, when the devil fell down from heaven, he fell into every audio system ever. That's what one of the worship pastors at a church that I was at said. He said, because every time the soundboard, anything, every Sunday it was something to do with the sound system that was wrong, or a mic went out, or there was feedback from somewhere where there hadn't been for months beforehand. It's always fun. It's just also why bands, every single time they set up, do a sound check, even if they just played the night before.
Yeah, audio gremlins are a major problem.
Josh just said audio devices are temperamental. Warawana with the $2 Australian. Welcome back, Warawana. He said the ABBA comeback was not on my 2026 bingo card. Okay, so here's the deal. If you're in the Discord, what did he call it? The Activision Blizzard Bethesda Alliance. Yes. So that's what stands for ABBA. And then he did a dive. Wara did a dive into their discography and to some of their songs. and all the songs just fit in line with like Xbox and what they're currently going through. And so it's really funny. So now he calls them, instead of calling them Xbox, they are now ABBA. Thanks for the $2, Wara. Funny comment. That's the funniest shit you've ever posted. I laughed audibly at that. So, okay, yeah. So audio's good now. Let's go to the Xbox stuff. I feel like I have nothing for like 9 days. I feel like I've seen nothing but PlayStation crap for 9 days. And so let's go over to the Xbox stuff because my brain hurts from constantly thinking about the physical digital crap. So basically what happened is they did Xbox did mass layoffs, and I had the article and I don't know where it went now. There it is. Haha. It left. Okay, so this is everything that happened. They spun off studios. They're closing studios. They have restructured almost everything. They've streamlined Minecraft. It's just going to report directly to Asha now. So that's it. They're doing a ton of shit. But they also are losing 20% of their employees. They are going to be getting rid of 3,200 people. 1,600 layoffs happened the other day. Compulsion Games is spun off. And they're going to be an independent studio again, so hope they find funding. Double Fine Productions is getting the same thing done to them. Ninja Theory supposedly has a buyer. Supposedly. And the other things are being shopped. Bethesda released a message the other day saying that their team had been cut pretty severely, and that if you were wondering if it was going to affect the Elder Scrolls 6 or Elder Scrolls Online, to ask Microsoft. So people aren't happy there, obviously. They've just seen 20% of their workforce go bye-bye. And it definitely shows with that. But the silver lining that I talked about earlier that I do want to bring up, and this is the only time we have to give any credit or have to make this try to sound positive at all. I get it. We hate Xbox over here. But at least they didn't just can these people and put them out on the street. They let them retain their IPs. They're letting them shop all of their stuff. And yes, now I get it. If you've been feeding and taking care of an animal, and this is not that developers are animals, just follow me on the analogy, okay? If you've been taking care of an animal and feeding it and watering it and giving it a place to stay, and then all of a sudden you put its doghouse 2 miles off your property with no food, no water, and no real way to get it, sure, the dog can sit there and hope that somebody drives by and gives them some food and goes, hey, you're good. You still have value. You still have things we want. And then they can get picked up, taken in, and all that. But they are kind of just leaving them out in the cold with no funding. So, like, I understand poor choice of analogy, but the premise of it, I do believe, makes sense. If these companies don't find funding and don't find backers, then it was just as good as them being closed down anyways. So that's kind of what I was trying to explain with that analogy. I probably failed miserably. I'm not nearly as smart as Logic is, and so that's why I defer to my smarter guest 99 times out of 100. Speaking of that, just on the spin-offs and... Yes, no and. Just on the spin-offs and the studios that are being allowed to leave and keep their independence. Do you think that this was the best of all possible outcomes for these studios? Or is it the same as if they just would have been let go and just fired immediately?
I mean, I hate to give... I mean, it's not a wishy-washy answer. I guess it's the answer people aren't expecting. I mean, only time will tell. And what I mean by that is, and I was probably, people were very, very, very super quick to say, oh, it's not as bad as I was expecting, or at least it's a good deal. At least these studios have a fighting chance. And I was quick to not necessarily agree with them, but like let that pass. I think one of the things we have to consider, and I talk about this a lot, in other facets of like multiple things, but your career has a shelf life, right? You've got a number of years to get a thing done. And so if you're a studio and if you're in your career at a studio, you're being sent out into the wild into a industry that is not great right now, that is very much survival of the fittest. And I couldn't even call it survival of the fittest because it's not necessarily of the fittest, right? Callisto Protocol, by all measures, was a good game. And yet that game didn't sell well enough and that studio shut down.
I mean, you can look at Tango too, like, right? Like we saw that with Hi-Fi Rush. Great game, hit every metric, studio gone.
Yes, yeah, little different because that's again another thing that Xbox did to them, right?
Well, sure, but it's the
even if you're out and you're not owned by a platform owner, right? It is feast.
Dude, IO Interactive, they hit a home run with freaking James Bond, and they still had to announce like they had to get rid of some of their people, they had to restructure, they had to move some things around, they had to cancel a couple projects. Like it, you can have a good game and still not be saved.
Right, exactly. And so, like, is it a good deal that they're given a fighting? I mean, what's going to happen? And so I'm looking at this from again, I go back to your career, right? In your career, you got a certain amount of jet fuel, right? And eventually that tank runs out. And over the course of your career, you've got times where you've got to kind of sprint and you got to drift. This is an instance where you're going to be sent out into the wild as a studio, and you may wind up having consumed 2 years of your professional life struggling and trying to survive in a no-win scenario. And when that's done, you're going to be 2 years further down the road in your career, again without a job, and needing to find a place to land. And in that 2 years' time, the industry has moved on, new technologies have come into the fore, maybe you're not as current as you used to be, right? All sorts of things. So it occurred to me as you were going through that spiel, I was like, wait a second, like there's an edge to this where maybe this is not as great a thing. Like one of my things in my career is like I don't hang out and wait, right, in places where things are not optimal. And a great example of that is I think I talked on this show about the company, that I was a part of where, they went through 4 years of like rolling layoffs, or maybe that was on my own podcast. I'm not sure. A lot of people are here who listen to that, so maybe they'll still remember. But, a period of 4 years, right, of going through mass layoffs. And one of the things that was happening on my campus as I was getting my graduate degree in software engineering was what they were spooling down was new development work, right? So I was on the largest development project on the campus, the largest machinery controls, industrial controls project we had ever done. And there was I was on the cutting edge, tip of the spear, doing new technologies, leading a project that was new territory for us. And after that, there was going to be nothing else. And I was going to be sitting with a software engineering degree, having done a ginormous software development program with nothing of that ilk, right, in my domain, in my future. Now, at that point in my career, I had kind of cut my teeth being a generalist. But while these layoffs were going on, I talked to my boss and I said, I hear what you guys say, because I think I said one of the things on my podcast was like, don't ever believe, like, if you're in that kind of situation, don't ever believe anyone when they tell you you're safe, right? Which is another thing we're going to come back to with the Bethesda studio. But my boss had told me, hey, you're safe, you're a generalist, you're the kind of person we're looking to retain. We know that we can retrain you and you'll get after something and you'll go do something, right? You'll help us cover down if we lose a skill set in an area. And so on this journey, I had said, I hear what you're saying. I think I need to go get an engineering degree just to make sure that I have depth in a particular area and I am a specialist in something. And so again, while this, like while I'm being faced with like no development work, I'm like, am I going to stay here and have this degree and just go off and do whatever they tell me to do, to fire jump into, right, as a generalist? Or do I need to go somewhere and really, establish my foothold in a specialty? And so that was the point where I made the decision to leave that company. I was like, but my point was I could have stayed there and camped out, not done any development work, and I would have been in that scenario, right? I would have spent X number of years doing something that was not in my domain expert, not in that specific domain, not the newest domain of expertise that I've been trying to swerve to, right? Hoping that things were going to turn around. And I mean, I think these developers and these studios are going to be in that situation. Like if this were me at that studio and like Double Fine and I was at, or if I was at Compulsion, I was being sent out, I would definitely be giving consideration to, do I need to stick around here and possibly, spend 2 years plowing a field that has, no get to it? Or should I just go ahead and pack up and like go to work, right? Try and find work at another studio. So, and of course, again, I mean, things are tough all over. I mean, that again is another bad side of that coin, right? There may not be anywhere for them to go. So again, they're going to sit there for 2 years just to wait for the inevitable axe to drop. And so I don't know that that's a net good.
Okay, and that's kind of what I've been seeing the overall reaction be. It's been the folks like me who've been like, oh no, that's a really decent silver lining, like best of all possible scenarios, cool, like shouldn't have happened, overspent, I get that, but super happy it happened. There's another side that says no, it's gonna leave them out in the cold anyways. And then there's your stance. It's like, that I don't really know if it's either good or bad, and we don't really know yet. And I think all three of those are very valid stances. And it's one of those where time will tell. It may not matter. They may be okay. It may be a rocky path. Time will tell on what happens there. id Software, y'all have been going bananas the past couple days in the Discord about id Software. I am not an Xbox guy. I've never been an Xbox guy. I don't give a shit about Xbox exclusives. I have not played most of them. I've played one, and it's recently. That's not true. I played a little bit of Halo way back in the day, but that's it. And I couldn't tell you I think it was Halo 3, I think. Maybe. I'm going to say it was Halo 3. Anyways. So, what is the deal with id Software, and why do people seem to be more upset about this one than the others at Xbox? Like this seems like the one that I keep hearing the most about. id Software, the developers say it's been regulated to a support-sized studio as 136 layoffs have been confirmed. And so they had 185 employees in total, so they lost 136. That's massive. That is a ton of people getting gone. That's like done and dead. And so, Logic, I'm all ears. What's the deal with id Software? What makes this more shocking, or what makes this more, I guess, newsworthy or getting people's attention more than the other things that have been going on lately?
Hero hit on it a little bit in the chat, mentioning that everyone believed id was untouchable. That's the start. But then to peel back the onion on that, of like, why? I mean, this is the studio that created Wolfenstein, Doom, and Quake. They literally created the first-person shooter genre, which has gotten, I would say, maybe a little diluted in terms of its popularity on console, but on PC, I mean, it is a staple, like steak and potatoes, bread and butter genre on PC. And in fact, right, in the live service space, it is essentially the foundation and the foothold that the vast majority of live service games are built on. And so, now we have this whole thing that goes on like in gaming, where, lots of studios are kind of not, you could argue that they're not really the studios that they were, right? And so John Carmack left id a very long time ago. John Romero left id even longer ago. So they're definitely very far down the DNA gene branch from what they were originally, but I mean it's still just shocking. And I think a lot of and Brap and I have been arguing different perspectives. I think a lot of perspective on a lot of these Xbox studios, properties, people, etc., yada yada yada, and projections that get made are all based on nostalgia and are all based on an inability to consider a world that doesn't honor that nostalgia. So I mean that's really the core basis of it, is that just no one ever thought we would be at a place where we would see id get schwacked, because of that legacy and who they are.
Okay, yeah, and Hero put it in PlayStation terms for me, so I appreciate you, Hero. He said, "Remember when Insomniac got layoffs and we were all shocked?" That makes sense to me. Okay, that makes.
But Insomniac didn't get decimated. I mean, the
That's
thing.
True.
I mean, the thing we need to consider is like what was done to id is worse. Think about this: is worse than what was done to Turn 10. Turn 10 was cut to theoretically 50%. Right? This is a studio that has been rendered incapable of putting out a game. And so this is a big topic for tonight, because there's certain things that I'm gonna blow away. Microsoft, Xbox has said that has rattled off a list of franchises that they are committed to. Included in that list is Doom and Quake. There is zero way that they are going to put out a Doom game or a Quake game, because you rendered the studio that would have done that completely incapable of putting out a video game. So that is a lie. I'm just going to put it in blunt, straight up terms. That email from Asha Sharma is riddled back and forth, it's a masterclass in diabolical gamesmanship.
I told you she was good.
She gives you a bit of transparency and distracts you by giving you data that only Microsoft/Xbox would have. And then she follows that up with a lie that you are so distracted by the transparency, you hyper focus on the notion that they lost 64 cents for every dollar that they invested over this generation.
Dude,
to the point.
I'm sorry. Real quick. I saw y'all talking about that the other day, and actually like the number breakdown on that shit. Holy crap. Losing 64 cents of every dollar you spend.
Yeah, it's like putting $100 in the bank and then going back 12 months later and seeing that it's now $36. Because your savings account actually lost money, or
because your money is eating itself. You're literally eating yourself.
Yeah, and I mean, and I'm not saying when I bring those analogies, it's not like that didn't happen. I mean, during the recession under Obama and during other periods of time, I've put money in mutual funds, and you go back and look at the mutual fund, and the mutual fund has lost money, right? And that's when you decide, hey, I need to shift my investment strategy and move it around. But Microsoft didn't shift its investment strategy, right? It kept pouring money into investments, so that it could wind up in third place with the lowest user install base and have their content and services, moving backwards in revenue for 2 quarters in a row, and lose $300 million on, the largest franchise on the planet. But that's more stuff. But my point is that in that Asha Sharma email, and so this is my thing that I feel like people need to realize and unravel. She is not committed to delivering anything that she has supposedly promised. And people should realize that, because people should go back to the showcase. Remember, we were shown games at the showcase that they had zero intention of releasing as Xbox games. And so today, where we stand, if you're an Xbox fan, let me be very frank. You do not know that State of Decay 3 will show up. You already know it's not necessarily going to show up in Game Pass. You don't know that it's going to show up because that game is under new ownership. That studio's under new ownership. That game still has development to go, and there's nothing that says that that new ownership will not be satisfied with how that game is shaping up during the remainder of its development track. It won't cancel it. Ditto for Senua for Senua. You do not know that you are ever going to see that game show up.
Yeah.
That list of franchises that were rattled off, I put it in the Discord today. I highly question whether or not you will ever see Elder Scrolls 6.
Dude, I saw. Okay, so you unpack that in the Discord, but there are some folks here who are not in the Discord. Like, you may not see it at all because you said not see it, but then also in another message you said if you're in the same thread, you said if you do see it, it's gonna be. I'm gonna misquote you, but something to the effect of it's gonna be. Basically just the same old version type of game that Elder Scrolls 5 was. It's not going to have. It's going to be on the same busted engine and all that. Like,
well, yeah. Let me fully unpack it because at the end of that whole thing, I said what you see will be a pile of trash and garbage, even worse than like Bethesda and its charming defects, right? And here's my thing. So as of these layoffs, Elder Scrolls was a minimum of 2 years away, which would have put it in 10 years of development. So let's not even add into there that typically games that go into development hell turn out not well. But you have a game that's going to be 10 years in development. This is Microsoft Xbox that we're talking about, and things that have happened because of the amount of money that's been expended to make a thing come out that was not looking like it was going to come out. So it's I forget. I pulled the employee numbers a couple of weeks ago. Now I'm already forgetting them. I'm going to say I'm guessing Bethesda is like 350 people. So you've been paying the salary for 350 people for 10 years to get this game out. And yet, verily, they've put out Starfield and they've done some other stuff, right? So it's not like it was only Elder Scrolls 6 they were working on, but it's going to be 10 years before that game comes out. Optimistically, let's now add on to that Bethesda is always late. And that stuff gets delayed at least a year, if not 2. So now you're at a window of 10 to 12 years before it comes out. Again, I go back to what she said, the franchises that they're committed to. We're committed to Elder Scrolls and Fallout. And Obsidian is now working on Fallout. I'll throw them in there too. I don't know that you're going to see that Fallout game, and here's why. Again, those studios were schwacked by 25%. Some of whom were their very, very senior people. The creation engine is proprietary technology. You are not going out on the street and swinging a cat and finding a developer who knows creation engine. So tell me how you were going to get that game out with a quarter of its staff gone, some of its most senior people, some of the people who built creation engine. One guy who I heard had been there since Morrowind. Tell me how you're going to get that game out, and she's claiming I want to get these things out faster. Again, masterclass, right? She says things that that they're going to do, distracts you, and then comes out with a totally ridiculous statement that is mathematically not feasible. So if at the head count they were at, that game was 2 years away, mathematically, you're not getting that game out in 2 years unless you significantly descope it, right? And pull it back in to a quantified software base that they can actually execute in that 2-year time frame, which I can't see happening because the Bethesda Achilles heel is that they're always overscoped. The entire history of the studio, they have executed to overscope programs. So please explain to me how in a 2-year time with Todd Howard at the helm, you're going to execute a cultural shift that is going to get that studio to get a game out with smaller scope. Like I don't see how you do that. So now let's fast forward to 10 years from now. The two things that are just murder states at Xbox right now is for you to be behind schedule over schedule, behind schedule, and over budget. That is what is getting you the axe. In 10 years, that game is going to be behind schedule and over budget. It probably already is. So now you've hit the two criteria that put you, line you up on the guillotine at Xbox. So what I honestly think is that I think they are trying to polish turds up to a point where people are willing to buy them and to put them up for auction, put them up for sale. So now let's go into the scenario where Bethesda gets sold off. Again, they go to another steward and you don't know if that game comes out. Again, rolling it back to like where they are now. Right now, they have farmed out QA to outsourced overseas companies. That's going to slow down your development cycle. That's going to leave you prone to more defects because the communications problem is there. You've got people in different time zones, so getting scrums lined up are a problem for a studio that has historically worked with everything in-house. They're talking about bringing on contractors at a larger scale because they don't want to full-time hire employees. Now you're bringing these contractors on and expecting to train them on Creation Engine and again get that game out in 2 years. Mathematically, the way we do software estimates, all those parametrics wind up saying that you need more development time. So my point is there's no math in which this game comes out in 2 years. For Obsidian, they schwacked Obsidian by 25%.
Right, and that's actually one of the topics tonight is about Obsidian, because not only did they schwack them, they canceled Avowed. There's no Avowed 2 happening, period. Those plans are gone, and let me just read it. A small group of staff that was working on Avowed 2 with hopes of reviving the project later on down the pipeline. This is as part of the Xbox Big Reset, which has resulted in thousands of layoffs in addition to blah, 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 blah. Nobody cares. We've already talked about that. Hang on. Let me get over here to the article. Here we go. The news of the new Fallout from Obsidian is likely very exciting to fans. However, Fallout New Vegas is a fan favorite entry in the franchise, and the IP hasn't had a mainline single-player game in over a decade. Fallout 4 was released in 2015, and a few years later we got Fallout 76, an MMO-style game set in post-apocalyptic blah, blah, blah. Goes on, and I must have just missed it at the very beginning. Yeah, there it is. It's a new Fallout game led by Josh Sawyer. I missed it. I read the rest of that bullshit for nothing. Sawyer was working on a different RPG that was structurally similar to Fallout prior to this. He also served as lead designer and project director on Fallout New Vegas, one of the most beloved games in the franchise. Bethesda, the studio that has overseen the Fallout franchise for nearly 2 decades, will work with Obsidian on the project. That'll be kind of the same that they did before. So they cut it, they canceled it, and they went back with what they knew. That seems very familiar. We've seen a few different companies do restructures this generation. And this seems to be what it seems to follow the trajectory. So you have Ubisoft. They divest, they shut down, they get rid of, they sell off, they do whatever they have to do, they become leaner. And then they look at studios that they already have under their belt working on other projects and go, hey, we want y'all to stop these, and we're going to go and put you over here on these legacy IP. We're going to focus on these good IP that we have, things that we still have some goodwill with, and we're going to then bring those over. Anything else y'all are working on, new projects, stuff like that, those are all no-goes now. This is the same thing that we saw that we're in the middle of right now with Square Enix. And also this is the same thing that we have seen with PlayStation to a degree. We're stopping certain things. We're going to go back to some legacy stuff. We're going to re-release games. We're going to do remasters. We're going to bring back sequels to things. We're going to continue on in universes that people like. We're not going to rock the boat much. We're going to try to be very safe right now because it's a little volatile. So it's interesting now that this is I gave 3 examples. This is the 4th time that we have seen this happen, and I just hope that it's not something that's going to be done just to get the dollar. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I almost say unquestionably it's worse, right? I mean,
it's worse. Okay.
I mean, this is what I believe. So I believe, I believe at Ubisoft, right? I'm sure that there were like financial people like crunching spreadsheets, but I honestly believe that through the decision making, there was thought put behind how they were going to reconstruct and preserve some portion of the creative process that they wanted to keep, right? That at the end of the day, they were still focused on having game studios. While certainly there are elements that say Ubisoft lost the plot, right? I go back to Ubisoft history and I go back to, right, a development studio, right, that started in a French castle, right, with them trying to create games out. And even though, Yves is like, the CEO now, I mean, those guys were at that studio, right, alongside the people, right, while they were doing that work. Xbox, what is going on at Xbox is happening right now, in my opinion, entirely by spreadsheet and analytics. There is no intentional, conscious effort to preserve the creative process in art and keep teams together. Again, example one, look at id, right? Look at Turn 10. Like what's happening there is not, hey, we still want to put out Quake, we still want to put out Doom, we still want to, we still want to put out Wolfenstein, right? And when the spreadsheet comes out with something, have executive and management intervention to say, okay, now let's layer in some more critical thought and figure out, like, so the spreadsheet says this, let's tweak and modulate that a little bit and land on what we're going to do. I think everything that's happening at Xbox isn't like the metrics go into that spreadsheet, and what comes out of that spreadsheet is what happens. That's like literally my only way to explain what's going on. You say that you're committed to IPs coming out, and then you decimate the teams that would create those IPs and have no answer for how you're actually going to get those IPs out. Like, it makes no sense. And so my only place that I land is, A, you're lying, or B, you are actually going to turn the crank and make people use Gen AI.
That's what I was just about to point out. Like, she said we're going to keep it out of gaming when she first got in there, and it sounds like you're not going to keep it out of gaming for much longer if you still expect to release some video games.
Yeah, I mean, with Obsidian, Fallout could be like, that scope could be kept tight, maybe, but again, like, you're saying that they're going to be supported by Bethesda, who you're saying is going to get a game out, who is understaffed, doesn't have the engineers to get the game out, is now reliant on outsourced, overseas, contracted labor. Like, it's like, I don't again, I go back to the math and I go, like, I don't see how that formula goes out. What I do see is, I see that you're going to fund, I can see a world where you fund Bethesda and Obsidian to get 50% of that game done, and then say, hey, look at this prototype of the game that we have, it's 50% complete, would you be interested in buying this? It's one of the hottest IPs out in the world. And I can see that might be something that another publisher would be interested in onboarding if a lot of the game is complete, and if you give them, a dowry like you're giving to the other studios, and saying, hey, and then we'll also give you some money to help fund the remainder of the game. And I think either that's the scenario, or the scenario is hardcore to Gen AI this crap up, right, and push these games out. Which is where I get to the thing that I posted in the Discord, is like, you're going to get a game that just comes out of a software factory, right, and it's functional, and we'll run a thread and traverse the code, from one event to the next, but it's going to have a lot of the creative spirit depleted out of it. It's going to be up on stilts. It's going to be a bunch of outsourced gotcha mess that winds up playing like a mobile game, or it's going to be some other travesty. It's going to be a thing that does not look like the things that you grew up with and loved, And then on top of that, right, I said this on Brap last night, Elder Scrolls 6. So this thing comes out in 4 years. Let's just call it that. Let's say if it even gets out, how is that even going to play? Because the big travesty, and I think what history will show as we go back, there are new gamers here who didn't grow up with Skyrim, who didn't grow up with Oblivion. And they're being told that, hey, maybe this Bethesda game should be a thing that they play. But the thing that they saw come out wasn't Skyrim or Oblivion, but was Starfield. And Starfield was not a shining copper of a game. A lot of gamers will look at that and feel that that title was mid, that it didn't hit the mark. And so, again, how are you going to encourage people to onboard to that Bethesda game? I think, as I keep saying, I think the novelty of an Xbox game showing up on PlayStation, again, had a little bit of jet fuel, and I think that engine is expended now. And I think that's why these games are nosediving when they come over to PlayStation, other than Forza Horizon. So I don't even know, even if the game does get out, if the game does get out, it's going to be a shortfall from what it was originally scoped to be. It's going to be something that is less than the nostalgia games that people grew up with, that the old heads and the graybeards are thinking they want to play again. And it's going to be something that is not appealing to new generation gamers, because one of the things I keep pointing to is I think a lot of those Xbox IPs are built around designs that come from game development concepts of the 90s and the early 2000s, and they're not innovating and they're not moving forward, and people are getting tired of them. I don't think Gears of War E-Day is going to sell. I don't even think Halo Campaign Evolved is going to sell well.
Really?
They are all based on antiquated designs, and the people who want to play them, right, are the people who grew up with them. Halo launched at a time when it was innovative for a first-person shooter to be well designed on a console. Right? It was always seen as a huge gap between a first-person shooter on a console and a first-person shooter on PC. And so here comes Halo and kind of finally does first-person shooter well on a console. We're not living in that time of 25 years ago or whatever. Like, it's not novel or surprising or innovative. Or look at Saros. Look at Returnal. Nobody's shocked, right? There's no shock and awe to a first-person shooter showing up dressed well on a console. That doesn't impress anyone. So why are people going to get down out of their seat on PlayStation to go play Halo? Again, old heads and graybeards who grew up with the series, yes. But I don't know that it has much throw beyond that. Ditto for Gears of War E-Day.
Yeah, and Nate just said in the chat that he thinks E-Day is going to do terrible. He said he thinks E-Day is going to bomb.
Yeah, I mean that Skyrim was it Skyrim remake or Oblivion remake, which I can't remember. It sold what 1.1 million copies on PlayStation. So,
yeah, I don't necessarily expect a lot of Xbox stuff to be doing much in the way of numbers of late. They've lost it with a lot of fans, in my opinion. I feel like, at least on social media, and I know you can't take social media to mean a fucking thing. I get that, but it's what we have to kind of go by, except for financial calls. But it does feel like the zeitgeist in gaming right now is a little bleak on both sides. Like, people are finally starting to see Xbox for what they are, and Sony is kind of showing their ass a little bit, and people are, well, a lot. And folks are starting to realize that both of these things are companies. They are corporations. They are there to take your money. And anything that we have had up to this point with regards to anything beyond a consumer supplier relationship is manufactured on the gamer side. And so the only thing, and granted, meant to be manufactured to breed loyalty, not at all like exonerating PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo. Like, that is how you get brand loyalty. Super, super clear on that. But I feel like with people feeling some sort of way about both, it's going to lend us to some very... It's going to lend us to, hey, listen, your game needs to be fucking awesome for me to actually want to grab it. And I don't think Xbox is going to be able to move that needle enough with their releases. I don't know if all the bullshit that happened with PlayStation over the past couple days, or about past week and a half, is... I don't know if it's going to be enough to move the needle one way or another on Wolverine. The way people talk online, Wolverine sales numbers should be down, but when you look on the PlayStation Store, at least in America, a couple nights ago, it was still like in the top 4. And so, like, what's actually happening, what's not, I don't think that Xbox has a Wolverine, though, up their sleeve. I don't think they have a game that's going to be as well presented as a God of War Laufey. Whether God of War Laufey is a great game, a bad story, a good story, it's going to look fucking fantastic. And so I don't know what Xbox has in the pipeline to be able to at least curb some of the bad news, right? Does that make sense?
Well, there's none of that coming from the Xbox camp, right? I go back to when Asha took over, and again, just as it's been, like under Phil too, there's all of this, like, things that are important, right? Like, you know, boot screens and logos and FanFest and I'm like, but no discussion of great games, and no discussion of like creative spirit and, you know, showing of like innovation and new approaches. Unfortunately, like id, like I look at the stuff, like I look at the articulation of what id was putting together to pitch, and I'm like, yeah, that's it. Like, that's the effort to put a thing on the landscape that makes a mark. Like a John Wick game, you know, built in the style and the way that they were talking about doing it. Like that's a thing that's somebody's at least trying to move the needle.
Yeah.
Listen to what's going on at Xbox now. It is, we are going to crank out and pump stuff out of a software factory that is reflective of the things that we have always done, that these studios have always done. We're going to put out an Elder Scrolls 6 that is an Elder Scrolls game. We're going to put out a Fallout that is a Fallout game. We're going to put out a Call of Duty that is a Call of Duty game. We're going to keep cranking our way on World of Warcraft and Overwatch. There is zero discussion that points in any direction that anything is going on at Xbox that points in a direction like Saros or Wolverine, right? That talks about this, like, this creative fabric and these minds getting together. It is all a very mechanistically templatized, right, blacksmith forge of just, pouring the molten metal into the template, right, to get the same thing out with new tech.
Yes.
And I would even say, and again, the creative minds that they have there are kind of the same thing. Like Todd Howard is not thinking about building a new game. He's George Lucas. He's thinking about like regurgitating the same thing he's always done with new tech. And that's the extent of it. So yeah, I don't think that there's anything, coming out of there. And I mean, in the pulling Minecraft and Candy Crush close, right, to a port directly to her. As I keep saying, right, what's coming next is gacha games and MiHoYoverse stuff. Like that is her objective. That is her objective to monetize. Like, how do you get to 1 billion people engaging with Xbox content? You get there via mobile. You don't get there via tentpole, like PC game, console game type stuff.
Well, right. Like, we knew that, correct me if I'm wrong, there's not a lot of the gacha games that come to PlayStation seemingly don't go to Xbox. Am I correct in assuming that? Like, they don't have Genshin over there. They don't have, or it took them a while to get Genshin. Like, I don't think any of those have gone to Xbox. Any of the Zen Zone, Zenless, or whatever the hell that one is. Have those gone to Xbox? Is fully available on Xbox. Okay, so is ZZZ.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, it's available also. So they have these games on there.
Do they? I just want to double check. Is Wuthering Waves on Xbox?
Let me check because ZZZ is, Genshin is. The problem is that there's not enough players. Yeah, Wuthering Waves is on Xbox.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I do see Zenless Zone Zero now.
That Zenless Zone Zero. There we go. That's how you say that. And so it's Man and David have been too correct. Yeah, Genshin took forever to hit Xbox. Okay. Yeah, so they already have all that stuff. Like that's the problem. They already have put their name in the hat from some of these things, and it's still not working. So I don't know, man. This is
so when I say MiHoYo versus stuff, I don't mean stuff from MiHoYo. I mean Xbox making games oriented around.
Oh, my bad. I didn't realize that. I thought you were saying getting those type of gacha games on their platform, not developed by them, but through other means.
Yeah, no. I mean, I like when we go back to the quote. I think it was Matt Booty who, or I attribute it to Matt Booty. Like when they were asked about the funds that they pulled from IO Interactive, and the statement was, "Well, we're not." The thing was, hey, they're pulling investment right from the game industry. They're retracting, and it was no, we're not. We're still going to be investing in funding like third-party titles. It's just we're making different bets. And I'm like, okay, well, all the bets they've been talking about has been oriented around, our big enemy is TikTok and the, attention-based economy. So it's not core games.
God, I love that.
I mean, it's all about our adversaries are TikTok and Roblox. We haven't sufficiently monetized Minecraft, right? Which was the statement from Sharma. So, what are you going to get? You're going to get stuff that is oriented around better monetizing Minecraft. You're not going to get, these big tentpole things, especially when, like I said, they're cutting, they're cutting those studios off at the knees that would be cranking that stuff out and making it, again, mathematically impossible. So it's, to get those games out faster, like she claims. So,
man, I want to be like the person that's hey, this could be good, this could be great, this could be what they need to do to get, back in the swing of things and blah, blah, blah. But man, I don't know. I don't know if this is going to be... I think what y'all were saying in the Discord earlier is absolutely correct. I think by the end of all of this, it's just going to be Activision, Blizzard, Bethesda, and that's about it. There's not going to be nothing else.
Now I'm backing that out. It won't even be Bethesda. I mean,
you think they're going to fully get rid of Bethesda? That's right. Oh, okay.
I mean, they're not following through on the commitment. And here's the other thing. Here's the final.
Oh,
right. Grave dig. They've still got 1,600 people to let go, and they're telling the people, they're referring to them as some people are referring to them as survivors. They're telling the people who didn't get whacked the first time that if you didn't get so hilarious. They're telling the people who didn't get hit the first time that if you didn't get cut the first time, then you're safe. And again, if I were there, I'd be like, I'm sorry if you get demonetized, but I'm like, motherfucker, how am I safe if you're cutting 1,600 more people? That doesn't make any sense. That makes zero sense. Somebody's got to get cut. So how in the world are all of us safe? And maybe that safe comment was at Bethesda, but I'm again, would you trust that? When you saw what happened to id, would you trust that at all? I wouldn't. I go back to the things that I've been preaching to people the last couple of weeks. I was like, when you are in this type of environment as a professional, as an engineer, you need to make sure that your job one is taking care of you. You cannot trust people who tell you that you're safe. I don't believe for a moment that in the next round of 1,600 cuts that those studios at Bethesda and Obsidian, plus Obsidian, are not going to get touched. No way in the world.
God, it's gonna be a fucking bloodbath, man. It is. So, if they lose their studios, well, let me rephrase that. Since they're dwindling down some of their studios, since they're moving them out, since they're doing all the layoffs and all of the restructuring and 20% workforce down and all of that stuff, Project Helix is still supposed to be coming out. If what you say is accurate, which there's absolutely a world where it could be. If what War is saying about the ABBA stuff, funny as it is accurate. What games are they gonna have to incentivize people to spend any amount of money on Project? I don't give a fuck. I don't give a damn if IBM makes the motherfucker. Who cares? Like, so who's gonna buy it? There is absolutely no reason to buy it. And even with PlayStation's idiotic statements about getting rid of disc, which is still frustrating to me, they will still have exclusives at some point that perk my ears and go, damn, I want to play that, and the only place I can play that dang thing is on a PlayStation.
So now you're literally tracking right on line with my hypothesis, right? And catching the double speak, right? Coming from Sharma and her team. You guys are saying that you're gonna start putting exclusives on your hardware. I'm like, exclusives from whom? Like the stuff so all of the things that your teams would put out, I've just established a proof that says mathematically you're not actually, there's no way you're actually achieving what you're saying you're going to achieve. So those games are off the table. The games that can still come out are all multi-platform games. You're not going to take COD exclusive. I mean, I don't really call World of Warcraft an exclusive, even though it only exists on PC. So, right, but World of Warcraft is going to be what it is. Like, okay, fine. If you're gonna take World of Warcraft exclusive in air quotes, you were gonna finally put World of Warcraft on Xbox. Fine, right? That's been kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy like for a while. You should go ahead and do that. But I'm like, you're not gonna take Overwatch exclusive. So you're not gonna take Diablo exclusive. So again, as far as I can tell, what you have told me is a lie. Right? So go back to your thing. Is Project Helix coming out? Why? Because you've got literally nothing to make exclusive to put on that console with what you've done with these studios at this point.
Yeah, and that's the part that is killing me, because I'm like, what are you supposed to do? If you want people to retain or if you want gamers to stay within your community, you have to give them a reason to stay. We have seen backlash, whether manufactured or not, against PlayStation lately, about folks wanting to leave, like wanting to be done, wanting to leave. And with that, people are hoping that changes something, that does something, that whatever happens. But like, PlayStation, at least, like I said earlier, gives us a reason to stay, because where the fuck am I supposed to play Wolverine? Like, that's, at the end of the day, where am I going to play Wolverine? Well, I'm going to play it on a PlayStation. Xbox doesn't necessarily have a title like that, and holding on to Gears of War, E-Day, and Clockwork Revolution, as awesome as I think Clockwork's going to end up being, and as cool as it has, the amount, not cool, but as much interest as it actually has from me, like, that's not ever going to get me to go, hey, let me go spend $900 on a box. Like, it's not the thing that moves the needle. And given their track record of games that they have produced, they're not really at that high of a quality from their first party studios. You mentioned Starfield earlier, and I know Bethesda's not necessarily first party and all of that, but like even that game was, I mean, Claymation comes to mind when you look at some of the character models and the way they looked, and like you watch cutscenes of it and you're like, oh my gosh, really? And that seemed like a common reoccurrence anytime I saw an Xbox game or an Xbox trailer. It was always like, man, they all look like they tried and then gave up on graphical presentation. Like, we're going to get there and then we're just going to stop. And this is what you get. We ran out of money. We got to put it out. And so I don't know what they're expecting to do or what this is expecting to accomplish, unless the goal is just to become a publishing house, just to become the ABBA, as it were. And so, yeah, it's one of the things that has me scratching my head, because I could have seen them keeping all of their studios and getting out of console. I could see that. I could see them shutting down everything and moving on without Xbox. I could see that. What I couldn't see is this 1 foot in, 1 foot out, one message here, one message there, speaking out of both sides of your mouth, doing things that are counterintuitive to what you're saying, doing a showcase as more of a shopping experiment than anything. Not shopping experiment, like somebody going into a business and not a business, but doing proposals. That's all it was. It was a bunch of proposals.
I call it an open house.
Yeah, that's it. Like, you're literally at Shark Tank. They
put the property up for sale, did an open house, let people come through. They had a little brochure. It's 5 bedrooms, 4 baths.
2 bathrooms, but one of them's clogged. Like, you just gotta... But, like, we have a clogged sink. We had to go get some acid to put down the sink, but that's why I thought of that. But, like, it doesn't make sense what she's doing, and it leaves a lot of questions. And Xbox likes to talk, but they're not really saying like much, because all of it has to be filtered through like a bullshit meter. You have to wade through everything they say, because like I said a while back, Asha is extremely, extremely good at what she's doing. She's really, really good. People like her. She's charismatic. She's easy to talk to. Her interviews are great. Like, everything that she's doing, all the right, even the layoff letter where she talks about how I made the decision to do this. Like, automatically, not saying we at Xbox are doing this or this has hit us hard or blah, blah. No. Very first paragraph, she talks about how it's her decision that is doing this. That automatically gets my respect, at least a little bit, because she's not pawning the responsibility. She's not hiding from it. She's not saying this was made as a group effort. No. She is saying, I'm the one swinging the axe. If you want to be mad at somebody, be mad at me. And I appreciate that. But then, as you see the implosion, like, as you see the dust settle, you're like, wait, you're still hyping up Project Helix. You're still trying to talk about the games that you have coming. You're still trying to say stuff about exclusives. You're trying to, put out some good press with the new Vegas stuff. But you're none of these are going to really be exclusive. So what?
You're talking about a billion people like a day,
right?
Xbox content. You're talking about Call of Duty being being bigger than the MCU. Like, it's like, and I don't want to, like, I'm not throwing shade on what you're saying. To me, she's good, and I'm going to make a comment, and I'm not saying this is you, right? But she's good for people who aren't paying attention. right? That thing about and she's good in air quotes because of, in my opinion, and I'm going to dive deeply into speculative land, because of who she is. She can make a comment, like the difference in her comment, I made the team to the decision, is, I'm going to toot my own horn a little bit here, but like, because if I say that, that is because I have been through weeks of consideration and torture and agonizing and sleepless nights to finally come to that decision. And I understand the human ramifications of that. That is not her. She says that because I guarantee you she went home and went to sleep and didn't lose a fucking wink. In my opinion, she is an ice princess who does not have an empathic bone in her body.
Really? You think she's cold as ice?
Exactly.
We got Frozen over here. We got Elsa up in this piece.
And this is why, in my opinion, and this dovetails with like your assessment. This is why she comes off the way she does in interviews. Right? I mean, it's almost I mean, there's a certain sociopathic content to it, right? Like, she does not care. And this is why the decisions that are being made are coming out of the spreadsheet, because that is all she takes into consideration. There's no humanity being taken into consideration with these decisions that are being made. None whatsoever. None of them track along any path of leadership that I've ever been exposed to. And I talked to, I can't remember who it was here. Maybe it was the Real Innate or somebody. I've made the comment before. Go back and look at all of these emails and all of these leaks and all of the PR and the social media stuff. Not once in any of those will you ever see the phrase "taking care of our people." All of it is about hitting the bottom line. And look, I'm the first, like, I'm the premier capitalist, and I will admit to elitism and framing that businesses are businesses and blah 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 blah, right? But like I feel like I'm picking up on the type of archetype she is, and like those and again, it goes back, and like the reason that I have this assessment of her is because, again, I go back to all of the things that she's written, and I see the doublespeak, right? I see the, oh, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, and then I look at the thing 2 paragraphs down, and I'm like, hold on a second, that does not track. Like, you're saying you're doing this, but you're doing this. Like, those two things are not harmonious. Like, they don't equate to the outcome that you claim. So, I mean, I think, and she took, I mean, and clearly, obviously, like, the fact that there are still Xbox loyalists just like boggles my mind. Like, if you guys don't understand that you were taken on a ride for the first 100 days, like her first weekend in power, right, is all about her being a gamer and her falsified gamer account and her gamer score. And she kind of quickly sidesteps that. Has she said one thing about being a gamer since then?
Not even a little bit.
So the point was to get you knuckleheads to belly up to the sushi bar, right, and start eating and put your noses down, right, put your face in the trough of games like you've been in Gamepass, right, on the all-you-can-eat line at Golden Corral, and ignore all of the other things that are going on around you, right? And that is the shtick. And like, if you're not getting it, like, I don't get it. Like, the notion that there are still Xbox people saying it's not as bad as it could have been. These are things that are necessary for the business. Like it's flabbergasting that people are still talking about a turnaround. I said it on Brad Planet. There is no turnaround. There is no comeback. It is impossible. You are at almost 50% of the size that you had swelled to. You were at 22,500 employees. You are now down at 13,000. You almost have an equivalent headcount to PlayStation. And you have, and amongst your leadership, you have no one in the creative space. You have no Miyamoto.
$70 billion.
Yeah.
And you're right where PlayStation is.
Yeah, 80 billion when you add Bethesda, and 100 billion once you fully tally it all up. $100 billion in acquisitions. And again, saying all this stuff, and and Satya Nadella's comment, we're long on gaming and blah 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 blah, and I'm like, you can't tell me that there are not shareholders fuming at $100 billion spent in a direction of things that, in their mind as a shareholder, is these are not the things we need. These are not the things that we need. They're not giving us the money that we would expect. I mean, and here's the thing, and this is also part of the reason why I think a lot of the maneuvering is going on, is in either direction, right? Either Xbox being, now maybe I'm not saying in either direction. Whether or not you are talking about continuing to plow money into Xbox and try to make it go.
Pause.
Or whether or not you were talking about folding up Xbox, in either of those two directions.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Oh, in either of those two directions, you have potential class action lawsuits brewing. Right? If you continue plowing money into Xbox with everything that you said, with all the stuff that she has said, you are definitively at a point where a shareholder can say, your responsibility as a C-suite is to provide maximum returns on investment to investors. And you have quantifiably admitted publicly that you have not done that. Now, I mean, if you fold up shop on Xbox, which is again a reason why I think a lot of certain very hyper specific things are being said, you have a potential class action lawsuit from somewhere in the player base, right? Or somebody who's a consumer advocate who comes along and says, hey, what about all this stuff? What about all this money invested? What about all these titles that people own? And I think a lot of what's going on is a lot of maneuvering to get into a place where you can figure out how to solve that problem, right? You can figure out how to outsource that. We're going to sell our back catalog to Ubisoft or EA or whatever, right? And they're going to be responsible for maintaining it and responsible for storing it and responsible for serving it to you over the cloud for the stuff that you paid for, right? Sell off any hardware warranty service that still needs to be put in place. All the stuff that they need to do to batten down the hatches and defend against class action lawsuits and at least have plausible deniability. I fully believe that is specifically why Satya says on the New York Times stage, no one can accuse Microsoft of not having invested in Xbox. I think all of this is about getting into a position where they can say, nobody can say that we didn't try.
Yeah, that felt very, when he said that, that was a very pointed thing to say. I remember going, oh, damn, he's talking to somebody when he said that. When he let out, you can't say we haven't done this. You can't say we haven't been there. It literally sounded like he was about to justify some fucked up shit. That's what it sounded like. Listen, I've tried. I've done everything I can. I've busted my ass. I've done this. Now, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You're cool. Fuck you. That's what it...
Remember, this is a statement that he makes right before these, right? He has set the stage before these layoffs happen, knowing that these layoffs are going to happen, right? And this is the thing that I find super I don't know, whatever. But as you wind back the clock, right? And I keep talking about understand the things that they have said at points in time when they would have had to have known a thing. You had to have known that the prices on components for the Xbox Series had quadrupled. You didn't just find that out. You had to know that. You had to have known that you were losing money as you invested it. That didn't fall off a tree. CFOs know that. Right? You had to, again, to showcase, you knew that the discussion had started that you were going to shut down and or sell off, right, Undead Labs and Ninja Theory, and you showed those games at the showcase, and you didn't openly publicly admit, hey, right, these games are moving outside the Xbox umbrella. You knew, and quite frankly, I think the only reason they admitted that is, kind of because the stuff that they did afterward made that patently obvious.
Yeah.
It's not, you didn't say you were sorry. You said that you weren't sorry for what you did. You were sorry that you got caught. right? So again, wind this all the way, and this is why I think this is a pathological cultural problem. Wind this all the way back to even when Phil was in place. And on the Gamescom opening night stage, you say Indiana Jones is coming to PlayStation at a point where, again, quantifiably, mathematically, by software development, that team, Machine Games, must have been working on a port at a time when you were saying Indiana Jones wasn't coming to PlayStation. This is the shtick. Right? Right?
This is the punchline. This is
crap that they say, right, when they know full well they're not going to do a thing, or that they're going to do the opposite of the thing that they're claiming, and it's all to string people along.
This is the shtick. This is what you're supposed to watch out for. God, dog.
This is what you get taught when you go to Microsoft Executive Liars Boot Camp.
This is okay. So that's the other thing. They're saying a lot. They excuse me. Let me have my ADHD brain get all my words straight for just a second. The executives at Xbox have used the same taglines, like, repeatedly, no matter who's speaking, whether it's Booty, Sarah, or Phil, or Asha, Satya. They've all used the same talking points at one time or another. It's the industry. We're learning. We're committed. We're going to be more aggressive. We're restructuring. Like, we're we're constantly evaluating. And anytime you use those terms, people think, oh, we're constantly evaluating. Great, that means evaluating. Evaluations, that means growth. That means looking at what we're doing. That means trying to get better, trying to improve. This is awesome. Like, they do word association a lot. And we call it marketing speak, right? Like, when you see that a game has vibrant 3D animations, that means the colors are pretty. Like, that's what that means. But it sounds better when you say it the other way. And that's what Xbox is doing. Logic was talking about the CEO boot camp, or the C-suite boot camp. And you almost wonder if they really do have to go through some sort of, like, is that like a hidden course in the college program where it's like, hey guys, listen, this is the elective. We're going to put it under like public speaking class. But really what it is how to pull the wool over 35 million people's eyeballs. Like, that's what this class really is about. And politicians are there. C-suite people are there. Like, anybody that has to stand up and give a speech and make it sound like you're getting a bar of gold, when really it's a thing of hardened Play-Doh. And so that's kind of like what is happening right now, is they're trying to put forth this, it's still going to be a premium product, it's still going to be top notch, it's still going to be high quality, it's still going to be everything you love about Xbox, and yet failing to deliver anything that people love from Xbox. And so it's fucked up is what it is. And I don't know how to spin this in a way to go, hey, there's some good here. I can see the way. Ubisoft, I can see a way forward, surprisingly enough. Square Enix, they're getting dangerously to the point where I can't see a way forward for them. We'll have to see how the next two games hit. Xbox, I don't see a way forward anymore. I don't see something where I can look at it and go, okay, well, maybe if they just go full third-party publisher. Shit, they can't do that. They can't just scrap Xbox altogether. Then they just pissed away tons of money with zero chance of recovering any of it. And so they have to do something to keep the hope alive. But and this is what they chose, killing 3,200 jobs. That's what they chose. They chose letting these companies leave and taking the IP that maybe they could have leveraged in the future. I understand that it's good these studios kept their IP from a from my personal perspective, but from a corporate perspective, why the fuck would you get rid of IP when people are trying to parlay that into TVs, video games, mangas, comic books, all of it? They're trying to put it everywhere. But they let these studios leave with their IPs. So that didn't make any sense from a business standpoint to me. So I have this is why I'm enjoying having Logic on, because I have no idea what the fuck they're doing. I can't make heads or tails of it. And like, I can look at PlayStation and go, oh, they're ending physical production for money and control. Cool. Got it. Do I like it? No. Do I agree with it? Not really. Is it affecting how I'm purchasing games currently in this moment? Yeah, it is. But do I understand the two reasons why they're doing it? I absolutely do. I have no idea why Microsoft is doing this. Logic, before we go to the next topic, do you have any... Can you explain why Microsoft is doing this? Do you have any kind of like 1 to 2 sentence? This is what they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I mean you're fattening up the hog in preps to sell it. You know,
and
you're
preps to sell what?
I mean this remainder of the studios that they have left, right? Or so Bethesda, I think, winds up being sold or spun off, or like they are hacking slashing that thing in the chop shop and cutting it down to where it is basically nothing but Elder Scrolls and Fallout, and then not putting enough skin in the game to actually get Elder Scrolls and Fallout out. So to me, they're doing a Bungie to make the thing attractive enough to either be sold or for them to spin it off and again have plausible deniability that nobody can say they didn't try.
Jeez.
I'm not absolutely certain what they do with Activision Blizzard. Maybe they hold on to Call of Duty, but I mean, how do you hold on to Call of Duty or even the stuff at Blizzard and concurrently do Gamepass when you now have no studios to make content to go into Gamepass other than your tentpole titles, but you also want to start curtailing money that you're paying to people for licensing to put content in Gamepass, right? So you have these massive incongruities, right? That would make sense if you were viably trying to make a business like a going concern, right? You have these conflicting priorities that one simply can't be true if the other one is. So, I mean, maybe they hold on to those properties and they wind up killing off Game Pass in its entirety. I don't know. But I mean, what I will say is the only way this makes sense is that they're not genuinely committed to being a large-scale gaming company in the way that they were before. They're skinnying down to the marquee properties. They are, again, polishing up some of the mid-level stuff, even, to prep it either for sale or shutdown. And then they're only going to keep the really big monstrosities, right, in Call of Duty, maybe, and the stuff at Blizzard, maybe. And if they do so, they're going to be rolling up Game Pass as well.
See, and that's another thing. Game Pass numbers kind of came out a bit, and they are... through no fault of their own, they've kind of alluded to the fact that, hey, we reported 35 million. Now we're at 30 million. We've actually lost 5 million subs, which, to be fair, Asha did say when she came in, remember the 100 days, right? You mentioned it earlier. She did say that when they came in that they'd been losing. They'd been declining on Game Pass for a couple months in a row ever since the price hike and all of that. And I did not realize how much they had declined then, because then they said that they actually increased. They had an increase the month that they lowered the price down a little bit. And so it got real bad there for a second. If y'all realize that, like it got really, really scary there for a second. But it's not much better now. They're at 30 million. They keep losing on that. So they failed. She's already came out and said they invested too much money into Game Pass. They tried to go, and it was a failed thing. And then one of the things she said that just stuck out so much, she goes, we tried to invest more, and we had no way to really manage it. And I'm like, holy shit, she's saying the quiet part out loud. She's saying the stuff that everybody said. What are you going to do when you get all these things? I remember saying that about ABK. What are you going to do when you get ABK? You're like a dog chasing a fire truck. What happens when you catch the damn thing? You can't do anything. It's a fucking fire truck. You're a dog. Sorry, I don't know where the dog analogies are coming from tonight. But like that one fits a whole lot better. Like you've gotten this big, massive thing that you were chasing, and you don't know what to do with it because you couldn't even manage the few things you already had. And whenever anybody brought up anything like that, no, Microsoft's a huge company. They'll be able to do great with it. They know how to manage these large entities. They'll be fine. They'll be this. They'll be that. Like, and lo and behold, 5 years later, it has imploded and blown up directly in your face. Or not yours, but, the Xbox community. This is something that has always been strange to me. Will and I have talked about this before when it comes to, like, new ideas for video games. Storyboarding, not the design, development, or things like that, but just, like, the storyboarding for video games. And we've had a couple nights in here where the chat has actually helped, and we've the whole conversation has moved to Will and I designing a video game with the chat's help. And we're like, man, these fucking people should just listen to the gamers sometimes. And it feels like that scenario, like not a small number of people told y'all this was going to happen. Now granted, a lot of them had PlayStation like WWE Championship style belts on, and they were painted blue, and they had like white PS logos all over them. So like I understand why people were apprehensive to listen, but there were also people who were Xbox fans looking at y'all going, "Hey, this is not okay. Something bad's gonna happen from this. They're not gonna be able to maintain all of this." No, it'll be fine. We're going to get 60 million people on 100 million people on Game Pass by 2027. Blah, blah, blah. It's going to be great. Call of Duty's going to go day one. Diablo's day one. This is awesome. It's going to be amazing. Look at everything they're doing. We're getting free games. We're getting this. We're getting that. And lo and behold, they had to raise the price to keep up. Cost of development went super through the roof. They had to raise the price to keep up. Every time they raised the price, they kept losing subs. Every time they kept losing subs, they kept losing the amount of money they could spend on video games filtered in via Game Pass money. Therefore, going forward, they had to figure out something. Hey, if we can cut it by $6 a month and gain back 4 million subscribers, that's probably the better way to go, because then 4 million more people are probably going to play our game. Also, we need to highly consider taking out Call of Duty. Cool, let's do like. They're having to backtrack on stuff that people who aren't C-suite guys were able to look at and go, that's a dumbass decision. Why'd y'all do that in the first place? And this is not me taking a victory lap, because it's mainly been my guests that have been the smarter ones and have pegged all this shit. And I just get to come in and go, yeah, that sounds fucking great. I get that. That makes sense. And so, especially when it came to the inner workings of the ABK stuff, because that's right when I was getting like headfirst into the back end, the C-suites, the who does this, who manages that. And so it wasn't I wasn't as ingrained in it as I am now. And because of that, I deferred a lot to these other guys. And so it's just one of the weirdest things I've seen, where the inmates are running the asylum is what it feels like, and everything's gone to shit. That's Arkham is burning because somebody let the Joker out. That's what happened. 100 million Game Pass subs. And sorry, guys, I have not been reading the chat much. I am so sorry. What's up, Dizzy Delta? I see you. What's up, Nelson? Warawana, I am so sorry. With the Australian 5. Whoops, that was from a while back. I am so sorry, man. Thank you for the 5. I have no faith in Bethesda after Starfield, not due to its release date, but due to their reaction. The gamers are wrong. Our game is fun. Well, it's not a bug, it's a feature. What's really funny is I can say that to somebody who just casually games, and they automatically chuckle, and they go, huh, I don't like Bethesda games either. or they're like, man, shut up, Bethesda games are great. And so, like, it's just really funny that statement is associated with Bethesda. Okay, so we do have a little bit of time left. And the physical disc production stuff with PlayStation, I don't even know if I want to talk about it, but I feel like if I don't, I'll get accused of being a pony. I'll get accused of sweeping it under the rug and talking only about Xbox. Well, and I have to sneeze. Hang on. Okay. The physical disc stuff, I'll say it like I said when it first got announced. Every gamer's going to have to kind of decide for themselves what they want to do. I think as much as I want all the backlash to actually do something, and as much as I think it could potentially do something, I don't necessarily think it's going to. There's been unconfirmed reports, but reports nonetheless, that PlayStation kind of planned for a backlash. They planned to kind of give it a few days and then just ignore the shit out of it, and the chips fall where they may. And because of that, like, that's whatever's going to happen is going to happen. We have 18 months is about what we have. Somebody mentioned earlier, or Nate mentioned that people were talking about how folks would end up buying a PS6 even if it was $1,500, and people would still spend that much money, and PlayStation would be fine, and blah blah blah. I don't know who people is, but people is not me. I will not be spending that much on a PS6, especially if I'm more restricted in how I get to play the new games. I would probably wait until it got lower, or just ride out my PS5. But that's a decision that I get to make. That's a decision for me as a gamer, and for me as somebody who still loves this medium. And Hero and I were talking about it either earlier today or yesterday. And I was like, man, with the all-digital future, they're going to have to release something that really moves the needle for me. And I mean, like, really moves the needle. Like, I'm not that excited about Galactic, so that's probably going to be a PS6 game at launch, because that game's probably going to get delayed into, like, 2028. But that doesn't do it for me. Even like a Spider-Man 3 probably wouldn't be big enough for me to come. It would have to be something like another mainline God of War, not Lao Fei, but like another, like the continuation, what happens next, or where are we going? I want to know where we're going to put the God of War team. I want to know where we're going next. That might do it, because I love that franchise. But just for me in my current, in me in the moment right now, I don't see where the PS6 is going to have near as much appeal to me as the PS5 did. Maybe I'm off in that. Maybe it's still sensationalism. Maybe it's still, I want to be angry because everything says to be angry right now at this. But I like to think that I kind of know myself a little bit better than that, and I'm able to differentiate. I think about a week ago, I had my peak moment of frustration, and you could see that because I started posting to X about it. And if I get on X and it's negative, it's it's generally because I've reached a point where my fingers and my brain are working better than my logic and reason. And so I normally end up posting something, and that's when you know that, oh, you know what, Thrifty's probably in his feels right now. And I was. I was pretty upset that day. It was the day that they decided just to release the fight stick thing. And I'm like, you bastards. That frustrated me. And since then, it's been, okay, I played some FC. I played some Adventures of Elliot. Played some Vampire Survivor. Done some other things. And I've been excited. I've been excited watching, Hero just beat Stellar Blade. It was really cool to watch his progression through that game. And so trying to get back to a point, that's why tonight we talked a little bit about the, video games at the beginning of it, because trying to get back into that, at the end of the day, this is the fucked up thing too. And Logic, this is why I feel like this is why I feel almost silly. Because I can count using just my hands the amount of physical games I have in my house. And I'm not kidding. I don't have a big collection. I've said that before. Well, technically I have Final Fantasy 1 through 6 physical, so I would have to use both hands twice. But in actuality, I don't have a ton of physical games. But the way I game uses physical media. Because I'll buy a game physically, I'll play it, I'll trade it back in. And then I'll get usually a game on my on sale list. Then, from there, I go in, and if I like it, I buy it digitally. Because my thought is, if I like it, I can play it wherever now. I can play it on my portal. I can play it if I'm in Florida. I can play it if I'm going on a trip up to St. Louis. I can play it in my office, on the other PlayStation. I can do whatever the hell I want to. Because I have it digitally, and it's pretty much anywhere I can access my PlayStation, I can play it now. And that's generally how I've purchased and played a lot of my video games. Unless it's one like Expedition 33 where I'm like, oh no, I'm just going to love that game. I'm going to go ahead and get it digital and physical. And Final Fantasy X I own on like 3 different storefronts. I own it digitally, physically, and I bought it on Steam and didn't like the way it played, so I refunded it. So this decision affects my gaming, but it doesn't affect me. I'm not a collector. I think what it boils down to, and this is me working through this. So like, I think what it boils down to is I don't like being told no. And I don't like feeling like I have zero control over anything that I get to do. At least with physical media, I still have some form of control. I can still manipulate the system to work within the budget confines that I have set for myself. And when you go to all digital, it becomes, I'm just trusting the publisher or the storefront to, be nice and put games on sale. Like that's almost how that feels. Is there a basis for that? I don't think so. So, Logic, I now want your opinion on this in the sense of does this affect your gaming going forward at all, or are you kind of like a Nate, I'm just going to keep it gaming and keep pushing?
Yeah, no, it doesn't impact my gaming at all. I mean, even when I had consoles with a disc player, I literally used to struggle, like forcing myself to remember to buy physical games. Like I literally would have to set like an alarm or a reminder on my phone or like stick a Post-it note on my steering wheel saying, "Hey, remember to stop at GameStop," like on your way home. Because my commute is up to 2 hours when I go into the office. So, like by the time I'm trying to get out of the office, trying to get back home in time, right, to do whatever it is I'm supposed to do at home, spend an hour and a half on the highway, finally I'm pulling into my hometown, and I'm, kind of have a Pavlovian, right, tendency to drive the route that I have to get home. And the GameStop is a left-hand turn instead of a right-hand turn. Half the time that I would say, "Hey, remember to stop and get a game," I would just forget, and I would just proceed on drive home, and then I'd be like, "Yeah, okay, well, I guess I'll just get it digital." So, yeah, it doesn't impact me at all whatsoever. One question I did want to ask you, and it occurs to me because since I got my PlayStation Portal, I've been, all digital. Obviously, I've been all digital on PC for forever and a day. But so you still have to put the disc in a PlayStation in order to play a game that you
yes,
quote unquote own.
Yes.
How do you so if you leave your home and you're playing on the Portal, you can only, like, the only physical game you could play would be the one whose disc you left in the PlayStation 5?
Correct.
Okay.
So you have access to all. Fun fact, you mentioned this. So when I went to Florida, I had just gotten the Beyond the Dawn DLC for Tales of Arise. So before I left for Florida, I made sure that Tales of Arise was in my PlayStation. So that way, when I was in Florida, I could play it. And that's what I did. I played it for like an hour one day. We were really busy, but there was not a lot of downtime for gaming. So I played it for like an hour, but that was what I had to do. And you cannot do cloud streaming with it, even with the disc, obviously, because it checks for a digital license.
So one might perhaps roll back the clock and maybe come to the conclusion that when the Portal was made, it was made with the conscious intention that it was really made to support digital libraries and not physical?
Yes. I would not be angry at you for making that conclusion.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that was not a god. It was like literally, I have never thought about it because, like I said, I've been all digital since I bought the Portal. And as you were talking about the Portal, I was like, oh wait, hold on a second. So yeah, that's interesting. So yeah, no, I'm not impacted at all.
Dude, they've been slow burning the fuck out of us. They have been cooking us like lobsters. You saying so? Oh my god. Okay, so you saying that about the Portal really just got my like head in that space. You just like completely like you turned a key in my head, and I was like, oh shit, because that has been a factor since I got the Portal. That has been a factor on no less than 5 games that I've purchased. In, hey, I want to get this digitally so I can play it on the Portal without having to worry about the disc being in the PlayStation. Or my kids are going through like a Minecraft phase or whatnot, and we have Minecraft on disc, both the PS4 and a PS5 disc. And so the PS4 copy generally stays in the office, which is where my oldest son plays. And then the other copy stays in the living room, generally speaking. So if the kids are in like a Minecraft kick where they are playing it a lot, if I want to play on the Portal at night in my bed, getting nice and cozy and then having to get my ass out of bed to go put a fucking disc in is rather annoying. So I've made decisions on games that I could have gotten physically because of the ease of digital use because of the portal even before this. Almost like I was being conditioned to already link digital with ease of use and the preferred way to play because of my portal.
Gotcha. Huh.
Anyways, that's golly. Both different games in the drives. I can play. I can portal. You can portal into 2 PS5s, or not? Obviously not at the same time, but I can have 2 PS5s linked to my portal. I didn't realize that. I also have never. I haven't done a lot of the streaming stuff because you have to have premium to do so, and I haven't had premium in a very long time. Yeah, I didn't know that either. That is really cool. What was Sony planning for all digital futures? Ugh. Okay. Anyways, so I don't think we have a lot further stuff to say on this. I'm not the physical only champion. You know, the more Hero and I kind of walk through this thing and talk about it, the more I'm like, you know what, this is going to take me a little bit to get over, but I'm sure I will. Like, I don't like no rights, or I don't like the limited rights that we have, but I don't like the limited rights we have anyways. Hell, Warwana talked about returning a game. Like a physical game that he has opened, downloaded, played, and they returned it. Like, that's absolutely mind-numbing to me.
So that's, and look, I mean, as I bring these things up, like I am not against physical bros, like, and I am not against physical bros being mad, like, but what and I'm asking this as a like a question, or just kind of pull the threads, because it's an interesting conversation, right? But I don't want people to construe that like I'm mad about you guys being mad. I think that's a misconstruing that has occurred in some cases, not with you guys specifically, but just in general. But like that case with Warwana is, I believe, and it's an open conversation, so anybody can push back or tell me I'm wrong. I believe that's because of consumer protection rights that are in Australia.
It is.
Because I have tried to return, like I've seen and I've tried to return a game, right, to GameStop, and it is not an unobtrusive, like, easy experience. Like I freaking hate it. Like you go in, you get interrogated, you know, there are these draconian limits on, you know, what you open the case and blah 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 blah, and I'm like, it's not, and this is the same thing. It's not as egregious, but like this is the same thing that I've said about some of the rhetoric that I hear about, you know, about the condition of the PlayStation Store and this painting of this picture that like Steam is so much better in their returns. I'm like, a skosh, but like you butt up against that 2-hour limit and it's draconian, and there is no conversation. There is no account rep who's like looking into the details of the matter, right? You cross the line, that's the policy, we're done. No ifs, ands, or buts, or mitigating circumstances, or whatever. So it's not this utopia, right, of like freedom on Valve's storefront that is like way better. Like it is better, but it's not 180 out. Like that's like the Epic Game Store return policy is, in my opinion, is better than the one on Steam. And of course, nobody will bring that up because the Epic Game Store is not the popular, right, PC game, you know, PC digital storefront. So certainly in America, right, returning physical is probably better than trying to get through a digital return. But I know going into GameStop to try and make a physical return is not an enjoyable process, in my opinion.
And you can't. On a new disc, you cannot return a new disc. Period. Oof. If you've opened it, you cannot return it.
Yeah.
That's why it was such a weird thing for me to see, because I'm like, man, once you crack the seam, once you take off the plastic, it's yours. That's with movies.
because the policy there is you can exchange it, right? But you can't actually refund it.
And and you can only exchange it for exactly what it was. So it has to be a defect. It has to be like, hey, now I did have that happen one time. I bought a game. I can't even remember what the hell it was. Get home, start it up, and it freezes. Like it won't work. And it was on a disc. And I take it back to GameStop. The guy looks at it, goes, man, there's like a nick on the inner ring of the disc. And that's when I found out that that's, generally speaking, where all the information is actually stored. Or a lot of it is, at least. And he refunded it, got me the new one, and said, here you go. It was a very easy transaction.
Yeah, and I mean, can't you return? I thought you could return for in-store credit. And I thought there was no. Okay.
No. So where that comes in, so they have a refund policy on used games. That's 7 days. That's still the refund policy on used games. So you buy a used game from them, you can take it home, crack it open, put it in, beat it, take it back in 4 days, and they give you your money back. But they usually give it to you in the form of store credit only.
Okay. And then, right, you don't get your full money back, do you?
No. You do. On a used title, if you get it from them and return it within 7 days, you get it back. I used to rent games from GameStop like that. I exploited the hell out of that because it was cheaper than getting them from Blockbuster. Which I know is kind of dirty, but it was.
So I see all the Australian guys in the chat saying, I can return for money. Yes, that's the point I'm making, is that the perception of like physical being this vastly greater consumer protection regime, I think, is definitely framed by where you are. Like it is not like as Thrifty and I are here talking, like there are severe limitations in consumer protections, even in returning physical games, right here in the United States, where it is, yay verily, you could argue that it's better, but like I said, it's not some utopia. It's not like it was back in the day where you could literally buy a new game, take it home, game doesn't work, take it back. Right? They've started clamping down on that to where it is its own draconian regime. You can argue that it's not as draconian as the other, but it is still draconian.
Yeah, I'm not a. I'm interested to see how this plays out. I want our consumer protections to be better because right now they suck. And I was talking to Josh about this, and he's like, yeah, it's not really going to affect me because our consumer protections are good. If I don't like a game, I still get a refund. And I'm like, well, pin a fucking rose on your nose, because that's not how it works for us. If I spend $70 on a PlayStation title and they have not fixed the consumer protections, I'm just screwed if I don't like it. And that sucks. It's the reason why when I bought, and granted, that's for physical disc also. I bought Lost Soul Aside, paid full price for it, brought it home, did not like the game, but because there was no way in the world I was getting my full pop back, I beat the damn thing because I had already paid for it. And I did the same thing with Arc Raiders, but that was digital. So guess what I didn't get back for my purchase of Arc Raiders? I didn't get back a fucking dime. Why? Because it was digital. And so there's definite problems that I've had with digital versus physical already in terms of money loss, but also in terms of just consumer protections all around. It sucks. And that's a very American thing. Brazil just came out and said that they said it today that Sony is not. They basically, once you buy the game, you own the game. Sony's wordage and verbiage in there is not gonna hold up in Brazil. They're saying it's abusive and this and that, and like it was pretty interesting. The EU is trying to come down on them, and everybody isn't asking for them to like stop the trajectory. They're just saying, hey, listen, you need to fix your shit if you're gonna do this. It needs to be more consumer focused and have more protections in there for the gamer and for the consumer, which at the very minimum, that's what needs to happen. But
yeah. The problem in our country is, I think that it politically, like everything is so pro corporation, I mean, the reason the stuff isn't in place now is because legal system and politically everything is so pro corporation. And you know, I mean, I definitely harbor some spite, right? Because again, like who was supposed to enable those protections? The FTC. Who did gamers, right? Regardless of how effective and impactful it was, who did gamers yell, scream, and shout should be enfeebled and have their power lessened? The FTC, because a bunch of them wanted the Activision acquisition to go through. But now those people who yelled and screamed and shouted, who didn't realize, and who I told were shouting and screaming, right, against their own self-interests, right, are gonna learn, because they're learning now that consolidation and acquisitions are not good, as we tried to tell them, and they too are going to skate towards an all-digital future, because Xbox is 91% digital in terms of sales, and their return policy isn't any better. I mean, the trajectory I believe this is going to follow. And again, while that same crowd was yelling, screaming, and shouting about the CMA and the EU actually has way better consumer protections with regards to digital content than the United States does. And while even, you know, the other camp of people that I hang out with, the Apple fans, have been yelling and screaming about the EU cranking down on Apple, the fact of the matter is that the EU does a better job at protecting consumers than the United States does. So I think I believe the way this trajectory is going to go is PlayStation is going to go to all digital. We're going to see console games and you know, a lot of entertainment careen more and more towards all digital, right? Because music and video is not all digital. It is majority digital, but it's not all. But as we see these things actually go away, I think the consumer protections are going to crank up, and I think it's going to start to follow the smartphone model a lot more, where Google is being told to crack open the Play Store, and they're being told that in the United States, and Apple is being told to crack open the Play Store. I think the tally is that Google is being told to crack open the Play Store in the US, and Apple is being told to crack open the App Store in the EU. So I think those things are going to converge, and I think these console stores are going to be like these consoles are going to be told to crack open as well. And I think what will happen is, for instance, on PlayStation, that PlayStation will have to allow something like, say, Ubisoft to sell their games directly to PlayStation customers through Ubisoft Connect, right? Or whatever the Ubisoft digital storefront. I think we will see something that is the equivalent of Green Man Gaming for PlayStation, so that publishers can give Green Man Gaming directly keys, and then those keys can be sold. Now, there may be some more hassling of Green Man Gaming in that regime, because I don't think PlayStation will allow them to vastly undercut them like Steam does. But I think there's going to have to be some loosening of the regime of the digital storefront, and PlayStation's not going to be able to be the only supplier in that space. And then when we talk about protections, and I think all of that is going to result in, like, once you have multiple digital storefronts that can service a platform, then you're going to have to do things like maybe relax, right, your refund policy, because if you don't, then people are going to go buy their stuff from somewhere else.
Yeah, and that's the thing that even me, I've been looking at the Steam store a little bit more over the last week and a half. There's some games that I want to try out on Steam that people have talked to me about and have said, hey man, these games on Steam look phenomenal, you should check them out. Like the Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War series. They say those games on Steam are just epic looking, and you don't need a big huge system to make it like that. Kind of the same experience I have with Arkham Knight. There's some old school PS3 era titles on there that you can find, usually for pretty cheap. So those are always fun to go back to. But Steam is something for me that I'm just still not that comfortable using it. And so it's almost like my default place to purchase games has pissed me off to the point where I don't want to give them money for games. but it's the place that I want to play because it's the ecosystem it's the operating system I am most familiar with. It's the controller setup that I know. I don't like the fact that anytime I get on a game that's 5 to 7 years old and I use my PlayStation controller, it has the fucking Xbox layout on it. It drives me insane. I fucking hate that. It's the most annoying thing. I realized that I purchased Tiny Tina's Wonderland from Steam after I'd got it free from Epic. Epic, I couldn't use the controller with it. Steam, I can use the controller, but it doesn't have the proper layout, and there's no way to edit it from what I've been able to find. And so the only place to play the game in a way that I'm comfortable is to buy it for PlayStation. And and when I hear internal rumblings from Sony that they believe that most folks are going to have this outrage and then just move on and keep gaming, I look at myself and the first thing I want to tell them is F off, because they're probably right. Because I don't know where else I'm going to go where I have that level of comfort. It's the same reason why I still have an Apple iPhone and haven't transitioned into anything else or even attempted to. I'm not trying to learn the operating system of the OnePlus or of the Galaxy, or if I don't even know if that's still if Samsung still makes the Galaxy or not, or if they changed the name of it. But like, I'm not trying to learn a whole new system to fuck with anything. Like, and the PlayStation knows that, and that's the part where I have that internal struggle that I've mentioned a couple times where I'm like, man, F all the way off. And at the same time, I'll see you in September for Wolverine, and I'll see you in October for Ace Combat 8, and I'll see you later in October for Final Fantasy Resonance, and then I'll see you in February for Final Fantasy 7 Revelations, and then I'll see you in March for God of War. Like, I'm not going to stop gaming, and I'm not going to stop experiencing these titles that I've been looking forward to. But at the same time, I see it, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck you. I hate that you were right about that. I hate that this probably won't make a bit of a difference. But I also know that I want to keep playing the games and I want to keep gaming. That's why I'm like, people like can spout off these real quick, hard and fast responses. And I'm like, man, I'm somebody who's like been playing visual novels lately. I've played first person shooters. Hell, I'm fucking playing a soccer game. Like, I can't really speak in definitives much anymore when it comes to my gaming future, because I've been all over the map as of late. And so you hate the fact the US government can do, hang on. You hate the fact the US government can do dumb stuff, but we will do nothing about it. Yeah, that's kind of it. Yeah. The longer you live in a walled castle, the harder it is to move, even if it's just emotional. Buying less day. Well, so Josh, that's what's going to have to happen. I'm going to have to buy less day one games. I'll end up probably buying less games overall, especially if what people fear that the sales are going to do happens, where now games take longer to go on sale because there's no other marketplace actually like competing. And which is one thing that the used market actually does, is completing. Thrifty's been playing soccer, no wonder he's mad. Hey, listen, it's just hockey with legs instead of sticks. And once I realized that, the game, it's been a lot of fun. We will start seeing more day one 20% PS Plus discounts, maybe. I know the indie scene has gotten in on that. But anyways, Logic, before we get out of here, do you have anything to add? Any anecdotes, fun stuff, anything like that?
The only thing I'll add, like on this topic, is there's feelings and worry that, like, discounts are going to dry up, game sales are going to dry up, that kind of thing. And the only thing I'll say is, and again, I don't know one way or the other. The only thing I'll say is that revenue that gets reported by PlayStation, that $34 billion or whatever, that is based on total throughput going through their digital storefront. And so I think one thing to consider about, what will happen right in the future state of gaming is PlayStation is heavily interested in keeping that revenue number up, right? Like they don't want that revenue number moving backwards. So there are various things that have to be done, right, to maintain that momentum, to maintain that spend. And when you raise prices, typically in accordance with the law of economics, you get less spend. So I don't know if necessarily all those things are going to follow suit. Like, and in other storefronts, right, when things have become digital, I like stuff that has been on sale still far exceeds the total amount that I could ever possibly consume, and I still wind up buying more than I could ever possibly consume, even though it's all digital. So I don't know. I don't necessarily know that it's going to wind up in that place. Maybe, but I think there's an equivalent number of reasons to think that it won't.
I hope you're right. There is part of me that's like, well, okay, so if they go all digital and then they also don't offer any sales or good sales, then people will just move. Like, they'll just be done. They'll decide to spend $750 on upgrading their current PC to be able to beef up and keep up a little bit better with future games, as opposed to buying the next PlayStation console. Like, and that's a real scenario from me personally. That's something that I am still weighing. I have the card picked out. I have the RAM picked out, and I just need to decide when I'm pulling the trigger. But by they, yes, by they I mean me. That's correct. But I don't know. I don't see myself. If the thing is if everybody's going all digital, then I mean, that's where the fuck do you go? Why? If I go all digital and I go to Xbox, it's not happening. But if I did, like, they're all digital. If I go to Steam, they're all digital. Granted, they have a better return policy. But if I go to Steam, they're all digital. If PlayStation goes all digital and I leave them, which one of those do I go to? Neither. Because I'm dealing with the same shit. I still can't go get a physical copy of a Steam game. I still can't go get a physical copy. Well, you can, but you have to download most of the game. And it's like you said, they're 91% all digital. Like, and so, yeah, Josh, even that, like, if you're boycotting Sony, then do you still buy Blu-rays? Like, because they fucking own those. Like, what do you do? And I think I'm at the point where I'm leaning more towards I don't like it. I hope it fails. I hope they reverse it. But if they don't, I'm going to keep gaming. Because I can't see myself looking at a Final Fantasy 17 or Tales of Arise 2 or whatever the new Tales game is, and looking at Bandai Namco and going, you know what, I'm not buying your game because it's only digital. I don't see myself doing that.
So this is a thing I've been curious about, and I'm only curious. Look, I'm not curious about it because I'm not trying to like call people on their bluff, right, and get them to admit, that they're just talking shit. Like that's not my point. My point is like I'm genuinely interested in it from a consumerism perspective, right? What choices people are going to make.
I'm not being an asshole. I really want to know.
That's part of the thing that I've been curious about. Like, people have said, with PlayStation 5, I'm done. And I'm like, okay, but like, where are you? Like, if if you're done because you can't buy physical, like where are you going that you can't buy physical? Look, I'm all looking forward to the rise of Nintendo, right? Because that's the only place you can buy physical. But but the statement I would make in this statement is to call people's bluff and say that you're just talking shit. Is you guys talk shit about Nintendo all the time, right? So I'm just kind of like, where, I mean, like, and I want to hear like realistic plans and intentions of where people are going to go. My own personal contention, and I've been through this, right, in decades of being a consumer of consumer electronics and gaming and all that kind of stuff. I mean, probably the closest thing is like, look, when I heard the word, or even I saw indications that Sega was no longer supporting the Saturn, I went and I traded my Saturn in. I didn't stay on the platform for the other year or two, right? Like I was like, look, no, I'm mapping out my future roadmap. If you're telling me that you're no longer support a thing, I'm not waiting until to the day that you stop supporting it. I'm gonna make my shift, because again, I go back to the earlier conversation about like an analog to the, like, I'm not gonna spend 2 years wasting my time investing even my leisure time, right, in a thing that doesn't have any future. So like my feeling is, if this were something that pissed me off, I would trade my PlayStation in now. Like, I wouldn't wait. I would be reconfiguring what my gaming life looked like so that in 2028 I've already moved, I've already transitioned, I'm already on the new highway, right, to my future of gaming.
Yeah, and I can tell you, at least for me in my house, we were gonna buy. We were debating on getting the kids either another Portal with a PS Plus premium subscription on the yearly plan, so they could do some streaming of games and stuff like that, and make it like their own little portable PlayStation, or getting a Switch 2. Well, the cost of the Switch 2 up front was going to be about $500, because I do want Mario Kart if we get it. And then I probably want Zelda, and that's a great time to try to get my kid into Zelda with Ocarina of Time. And like they're doing something. I mentioned this last night. They're doing some things that make me happy. That like, okay, you're getting my attention now, which is something that they don't normally do over at Nintendo. They don't normally get my attention. They did last year with Pokemon Leaf Green and Pokemon Fire Red at $20. That got my attention. I purchased Leaf Green for the Switch. And then now with them doing Ocarina of Time, now they've definitely gotten my attention. But also because vibrant visuals for Minecraft work now on the Switch 2, they have been able to kind of at least get some sort of parity with some of the other titles as far as fidelity goes. And games look better on there, like the third-party games. And it's $500 as opposed to $200 for the Portal, plus call it $170, I think, $180 for PlayStation Plus Premium. So for the first year, I'm still investing almost $400. After the second year of PlayStation Plus Premium, I have now increased to $600, which is $100 more than the Switch, that does not require a subscription to play the games. They offer a subscription, but you don't have to have it. And so for me in my house, we're doing a Switch 2 for Christmas instead of a PlayStation Portal, because I don't. I was leaning PlayStation because my kids will all the time look at the Switch 2 and go, "Man, Dad, even the stuff they show on that games on the PlayStation still look better." Yes, they do. 100% they do. But if I want any form of physical media for gaming, that's the last bastion, and they're only like 50%. Because it's like the virtual key. I have to figure out how all that shit works. But from what I understand is they're physical, but they're dipping their toe into needing that digital hookup, that digital link. So that is where we have decided to go. But if you go back a couple months, we were having this debate internally in our house between my wife and I like a couple months ago. So all this did was let me go, okay, cool. we'll just go over to Nintendo now, and then we'll have a PlayStation 5 Pro, we'll have a PlayStation 5, a middling PC that's probably about to be on the lower middle end here within the next 6 to 8 months, and then a Switch 2. And I think with that, all the basis of everything I could possibly want in gaming is covered. So, like, we will be able to play whatever fucking title we want to play when it comes out, if we so choose.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And you know, and that's what I keep campaigning for is like, look, whether it's rising prices or physical or whatever, like, and again, I'm not saying this to like lecture people or admonish people, but I'm like, look, you've got some cross cutting to do, right? You know, it's funny because I've been playing Spider-Man Miles Morales, and Gengi's always talking about making his, like, you got to make a pros and cons list, right? And sort out what is of value to you and prioritize what is of value and start putting those things on a list and figuring out what you're going to do. And I know for me, like I said, who's been in a space where there were lots of things that I could afford, and I'm like, now next generation, whether it's a matter of I can afford them or that they just don't make sense, like there's things that are probably going to change. I know what I've said is, look, I think the max I'm going to pay for a console is $750. If the Xbox or the PlayStation are north of that, then I'm just not buying them, period. In order for me to buy two, at least one of them has to be $650, and the other one can't be more than $750. That's still a stretch. I don't know that I would buy a $650 and a $751. If they're between $650 and $750, I'm very likely probably heading to only buying one. But the other thing I've said is like, and then if it's north of $750, my future state of gaming is PC, Steam Deck, and Switch 2. And that's just kind of where I'll settle out, you know, which is, you know, I'll depart the PlayStation ecosystem too. Just because,
I mean, you've already done that once.
Yeah. And that's the reason why I run it. That's also why I say, again, not trying to throw shade or calling this up, but I'm like, no, when I'm really pissed off, I know I go scorched earth, right? I don't play. I don't go half in, half out, right? I go scorched earth. I don't believe in vendor buy-in, vendor lock-in. Like, that's just me personally. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, if I own a bunch of content with you, like, you're not crossing my threshold of what pisses me off, thinking that you're keeping me there because you've earned vendor lock-in. There is no one who earns vendor lock-in with me. Like, I will drop my iPhone in a day and switch over to Android. Right? But again, that's because I've spent decades, right, conditioning myself, if you will, but like doing that, you know? I mean, that, like, and then if I ever go back to Apple, that content's always there. Those apps are still there. If I leave PlayStation and I go back to PlayStation, like, those games are still there in my digital library.
So I was thinking about that a little bit in regards to my PlayStation Plus, because I just canceled it. Not because of this. I mean, sort of because of this, but also this month in PlayStation sucked. And so I was like, I need to cancel it anyways. They got an extra couple months out of me for free. Or like without me really using it, other than, you know, streaming with Josh on Tuesdays. And I'm like, you know, outside of that, I don't really use this fucking thing. And automatically, the day I did it, we had a cloud saves conversation in the Discord. And I was talking up cloud saves and how nice it is and blah, blah, blah. And then somebody mentioned, yeah, it's stupid that it's tied to PS Plus. And then it like slapped me across the back of the head. And so I still have it canceled. But now I'm sitting here going, well, shit. If I want to do anything, I have to have it. But then I remembered the good news is once I sign back up for it, let's say they talk about a good month or they give a discount or whatever. Once I sign back up for it, I have access again to everything I had before. And the next save that I do, I can automatically put any new saves. I can update the cloud and get all my stuff back, and it's all right there.
I would even say beyond that, and this is one of the things that I encourage, just because at least for me it's been helpful, is like I believe in live experiments, right? I believe if you say, hey, it wouldn't bother me if I'm going to drop a thing. Then drop a thing. Like, put yourself through it and see what happens. What I have discovered is same like you. I was like, man, giving up cloud saves. So I over a year ago, I dropped Game Pass and PlayStation Plus. And I dropped Game Pass, and I've done things like, well, I dropped Game Pass, but I'll come back to it, like to get like I just dropped them. I was like, I don't need these subscription services. And so, like cloud saves, the one thing that I was reminded of, which I would have never realized if I had not dropped it, is like, if you're one console person, like if you own one PlayStation 5, your game saves stay on the console even when you uninstall a game. So if you uninstall a game and bring a game back down, it's going to pick up your locally saved game, unless you manually go in and delete the game save.
Correct.
So quite honestly, like I have just, again, with one PlayStation 5 Pro, I haven't been impacted by giving up my cloud saves. In that, for my use case in my scenario, personally, I understand that probably doesn't map to everyone, but it was a neat little discovery, right? When I dropped it, and the first time I went to reinstall something, I was like, oh shit, man, I don't have access to my cloud save. And then I brought it down, and I was like, oh, that's right, my local save is here. My progress picks right back up. I still have like 75% completion, whatever the case is. So yeah, it's been an interesting experience to unbuckle myself from those subscription services and realize, they're not nearly as impactful as I may have believed it was going to be dropping them until I actually did it.
Yeah, and I'm not. And Hero, you are absolutely right. Yeah, Will and I have actually talked about that a while, like a year and a half, 2 years ago. Because that's one thing that I actually do advocate for. If you are terrified, if you're a digital person and you are terrified about losing access to the game or the game getting completely delisted or them saying that, hey, you'll never be able to download it again, you can save your game to a thumb drive or to an external SSD or whatever, to external hard drive or what have you. And whenever you're ready to play it, you can just copy the file back over to your PlayStation. So you do have that ability to do so. As far as preservation goes, as far as having access to the games, it's not fail-proof. I think there are still a couple pitfalls with it. Will just released a video on it, so if y'all want to go check that out, go check over his channel, because he did just do a video on that. But that's been a thing that I have. The physical only guys, I've always said, hey, listen, you can preserve your stuff. You just need to buy a couple thumb drives. And that lets you preserve your shit. Because you're not trying to play it off of the external. You just need a place to store it. That's it. And so you can use a hard drive. You can use a SSD. It's really flexible because all you're doing is storing it. And so, yeah, there is that. This is dumb. I can use a 15, 20-year-old 360 cloud save file, and it's still there. Yes, so the cloud save files will still be there. Like, I take it from somebody who has been on and off with PS Plus over the last year. All of my cloud saves are still there. When I log back in, it says, hey, we see duplicates here that don't match for the same game. Do you want us to update the cloud or update the console? You always choose to update the cloud. Don't be stupid like I did and update console because oops. Or not update console, but you don't use the save from the console because generally... Wait, I have that reversed. Don't use the save from the cloud because generally that's going to be the older save. You'll want to use the save from the console and then it'll copy that back to the cloud. PS save files get deleted after so... What the... No, do they really? I had no idea. If that is true, Rachie, I don't really think you have a reason to lie, but like, if that's true, that's wild. I did not realize that. They get deleted from the cloud after 6 months. That's crazy. I have to do a check on that. Okay, guys, it is 11:30 my time. I have kidnapped GameLogIQ for 2 nights in a row now, so I have to let him go. People will start missing him. They get deleted after 6 months without paying for PS Plus. Really? Huh. I did not realize that. Josh and I will be back next Tuesday to stream Ghost of Tsushima Legends. Lord help me. And so, yeah, that'll be fun. Come back and check out that. Also, I am thinking about the next game I want to get, and I am considering it being GT7. They keep throwing it on sale for $30 with 2 million whatever credit thingies. And I keep getting super close to actually purchasing it. So yeah, we may have a racing game and a community game night where I just take y'all through the Autobahn and y'all can see how terrible of a driver I am. With all of that being said, Logic, where can people find you, sir?
You guys can find me over at the Rounding Off Infinity gaming channel on YouTube, where I do a solo cast called The Games Memo. Try and do it once a week. Right now, I think I'm planning on doing that the next one again next Tuesday, so it may be fairly late if I've got swim practice and stuff to go to, or it might be a little earlier. So just keep an eye out on the front page of the YouTube channel, and that should be where I tell you when the next one's going to be.
Heck yeah, guys. You can go follow him with his link in the description. GameLogIQ, if I don't tell you later, I'll tell you now. Thank you so much for coming on. Always a great conversation with you. It never gets real loud, never gets real insane. Just two dudes trying to figure this shit out. And so I really appreciate the tone that you bring in here and the way you interact with the chat, the way you... especially last night, man, I really appreciate that. You let me break away for 5-10 minutes so I could go handle something, and you literally led a show that wasn't yours for that time. So I really appreciate that, and really thank you for that. So yeah, anyways, y'all have a wonderful night. Thank y'all again. Hit that like button on the way out if you haven't yet. And yeah, share this out, hype this up afterwards, and yeah, we will see you on the next one.